Welcome to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com.
Johnson was coming after him, still chasing the quarterback, and forces him back inside. The ball out as he hit the ground. And the officials say the Bears have it.
They drop out in coverage. Under pressure, Ellinger! It's Lynch. And James Lynch wraps him up.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
On the fake, on the slant, it's Denzel Mims, and the Bears take the lead.
Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we are. It is day 4 of the launch of SicEm365 Radio. Good afternoon. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak inside of our studios on a stormy, electrical, and thunderous Thursday afternoon. We are loaded up with guests. I'll throw them out there for you. Cliff Harris, Steve Rodriguez, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, Clyde Hart, Jeremy Warner, MaCio, Teague, Seth Russell, and Spencer Drango today from start to finish, in and out, as we bring you this show from SicEm365 Radio. Paul, Bob Bowlesby today, who is not someone that a lot of people around that I know of, Baylor fans and maybe a lot of Big 12 fans, I can take him or leave him. You always say, I don't like him, but then what's the alternative? He is saying that the football season has to be the full football season, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he said that it's going to cause problems if it's not a full, his words, full, robust football season, and he's not certain they can have it, and nobody is. Virtually every program is highly reliant on football revenue. We're making lots of contingency plans, but if you don't get the anticipated number of games in, you lose the donations, you lose the sponsorships, you lose the gate receipts, and you lose the TV. It's potentially very impactful.
I think we heard in Mac Rhodes' voice a couple of days ago where the concern is, with athletic departments trying to make their budgets work. And I think based on what Mac Rhodes had to say the other day that, we already kind of realize that our world's going to be different whenever we come out on the other side of this COVID-19 scare. It's going to be different. We talked, just yesterday with Kirk Wakefield about how stadium games may be different for the fans that are in attendance, but I think it was obvious from Mac when he made the comment that, you may look at our model and see the fact the NCAA is taking out a loan and think that we're a bit archaic and that it's out of date, and I think that's something they're going to have to go and look at. They're going to have to realize this is something that could happen again, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so it's going to change a lot. Now, as far as Bowlesby's comments go, I know that he and the Big 12 staff have taken some pay cuts. They're still getting paid, but taking about 10% pay cuts, and I understand where he's coming from on a full season, but do I need to see Baylor play SFA in week 2? And I don't even know what their game is this year. I'm just throwing that out there. Or do I need to see some of these non-conference games as tune-ups maybe? But if we get conference play in, I think that's all that really matters in the long run. I don't think it needs to be, 12, 14 games for each team to feel like they had a full season. I think you could play 10 and still be A-okay.
Yeah, I think you could play one non-conference game, especially if you can keep the one big non-conference game that's on your schedule, your rival or whatever. Mm-hmm. And let's just going out to other conferences. So if it's, Clemson and South Carolina, they can play each other at the end of the year, and you keep those intact, and then you just play the rest of your schedule out. I think that would be good because, again, those non-conference rivalry games are going to be big for television revenue. But, yeah, you play 10 games like you used to and call it a day. I mean, you're going to lose 3 games worth of television revenue across the board for the most part, but
I did go and look at Baylor's schedule for next year, and it's interesting that I mentioned week 2 because their schedule is a little bit funky this year. That Ole Miss game's in danger because that's the opener, and that thing just seems to have been cursed from the very get-go anyways. But week 2, actually, for the Bears this year would be Kansas, a Big 12 game that early in the season. So even more problematic if you are having to move it back. Maybe that's one you bump all the way to the end and that becomes your final game. Obviously, that's what everybody's trying to figure out right now and just trying to figure out if we're going to have a season. And if we do, and it looks like every athletic director is going to push mightily for us to have a season of some sort. But I don't know. Bob Bowlesby's got his opinion, but a lot of people do as well on the best way to make it work. not only for people's health, but also financially. That's a big part of this whole thing all across the country.
Yeah, we'll have a poll that I just put up on my Twitter page, at David Smoak, DavidSmoak. Very simple. What is your confidence there will be a full college football season this year? Very high? None. Very simple.
Yes, very simple.
High? None.
Mine actually still right now is very high because we're still 4 months out from that, and I would think that I'm hoping that by July we're in a place where we can at least start modifying social distancing to allow sports practices and things like that. Going back, things are going to be different for probably about until there's a vaccine for this. They're probably going to have to, or there's a definite dip in COVID-19, but until that happens, we're going to have to do different things. But if we can get back to smaller scale gatherings that aren't 25,000 people on July 1st, then I think that would be good. And then you move on to, okay, people can start practicing, they can start playing games, they can do this, and then we can get seasons in.
We don't need to get complicated with the poll, by the way. It's either very high or none, and then we can then dig into, okay, does that mean with fans in the stands? So that's different. I'm talking about playing all the games when they're supposed to start. Some of them even trickle in at the end of August, which is 4 months from now.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see no fans and no media at the games, and then our post game is essentially Zoom. Like you just Zoom us in, and then like we did the thing with Kim Mulkey the other day. Kyle Robarts was moderating, and you sent Kyle Robarts a text, and he said, okay, next up is Jerry Hill from Jerry Hill's Baylor Bear Insider, and you go on in and do that. And so, so Jerry asked a question. Okay, next up is, Chad Conine for the Waco Trib, and on and on and on. And that's what they would do. And I think that might be it in that, or you might have to get beforehand. If you're a Cowboys game and the way that those normally work,
man.
Okay, we got a question from Elwin.
Yeah, get that one out there.
Somehow randomly right off the bat. And then, Todd Archer and do that. You give people an order, so that way they have to pretty much be ready. Because most of the time press conferences are spontaneous because the coach is going to answer something and you're going to want to, wait a minute. So you're telling me that you didn't plan on calling that timeout in the third quarter.
Right.
Like you did, that changed the whole face of it. So those things it's going to be hard.
I would say on the poll question, if I had to choose between very high or none, I will go with very high for now, just because none just seems least likely to me at this point. I'm not confident in very high either. I would say it's more of like a medium sort of feel that we're going to have a college football season. But of those choices, I would say very high. Although, of course, that could change. And I was thinking about, speaking of press conferences, when I still was before they changed up the schedule, and I basically missed out on a lot of the media sessions last year because they were conflicting with the time of my former show. But when I was able to go out there, we're a foot away from those guys. Like, they're encircled by us, and they're sweating because they're just off the practice fields, and we're fresh off of whatever we were doing. And, things like that, I believe, will be different as well. And I don't know that we're ever going to go where it's all technological and things like that. And of course, a lot of that's still to be figured out. We're far away from that. But that is a thought that crossed my mind, was like, man, are the days of like the group media sessions one-on-one with these players and coaches, are those over, or are we going to maybe see those return at some point? So that's one of thousands of questions that I think everybody has.
The poll has already got like 35 or 40 people have voted in a matter of a minute or two. Paul, that allows me, that takes me out of the mix of you've interviewed Blake Lynch, and then I go back over.
It does. It absolutely does.
And interview Blake Lynch, and I ask him about the Gilmer Buckeyes. Mm-hmm. The poll is, here's a couple of responses on the text line, by the way, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, 254, not until we get a vaccine.
254-339-1122, the Riverbend Liquor and Wine.
254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. We will, again, it appears starting next week, the ability of taking your calls and having you on the air. Here's from Sheehan. I think we probably get conference play, but it really depends. It just depends. So early to tell.
Yeah, it's so early to tell, which is why, there might be somebody out there that's like, we cannot do anything until we get completely safe and whatever. But, at the same time, everybody's just guessing at this point, no matter what side of the fence that you're on. So I don't think that there is a wrong answer. Now, as far as to the texture at, again, 254-339-1122 that said not until we have a vaccine, well, then the answer is no. We're not going to have any football season whatsoever because the earliest a vaccine is going to get here, according to our government officials, will be sometime early in 2021. So if that's your opinion that, no, we're not doing anything until a vaccine is made, all right, we'll cancel college football right now then, which of course they're not going to do.
51 votes in. This is going back. This is going back and forth. 53% say none, 47% say very high. And this is 52-48. It is going back and forth, 65 votes.
I also think if you just base it on some of the rest of the world, and, I know Italy's still having problems, but I think that a lot of the countries that had a big spike are starting to see at least, not maybe a total flattening of the curve, but they're getting their hands around it. And I don't know how much to believe about what comes out of China.
I believe zero.
Yeah. But apparently Wuhan is back open again, which is where this whole thing came from. So that's about the same time that you would have college football based on our timetable of when we started doing everything. And hopefully we get, we're ahead of the curve now that we're learning every day. So we get maybe more ahead of the curve than we were.
This is SicEm365 Radio, David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak.
My concern is that it already kind of feels like everybody's sort of like, oh, we're making progress, and hey, and everybody's going to kind of fall into this lull of, I can do this a little bit more than I was doing. I can get out a little bit more and be fine. That's what we can't do right now, because that's just going to start this whole thing all over again, except for it will be twice as worse. And it will be much harder to contain if we were to go that route. So the best thing that we can do, as difficult as it is to just abide by the orders to, stay apart from each other and stay in our homes and not have to go out other than for the essential things that we have to go out for. That's our best hope for college football, guys, is to do that. And I do think, to Paul's point, we saw this start in China, and we saw this, go west. And I think now that we see them kind of on the other side of this first wave, at least, we're going to see how this goes and if there's a second wave that hits them eventually. But yeah, we're kind of a little bit behind in seeing this and how it spreads and all of that. So it'll be very interesting to see if Wuhan and other Chinese communities, as well as other countries in that part of the world, are actually over this or getting over it, or if it's just the lull before another big wave comes in.
Yeah, it's like right now, Trey Morris just came in on this discussion about what the question was. And he's thinking both the NFL and college football teams and fans will be in the stands. So you have the ultimate of optimism, and you have those who are like scared to like open up their front door.
I wouldn't be surprised to see fans in the stands, but if your ticket capacity is 50,000, you're going to have 25,000. You're going to have every other seat or something like that. I think they'll have fans, but it'll be, you can't sit right next to each other.
You don't picture the big house having 110,000 people packed in there for Ohio State or something?
Not this season, no.
Yeah,
no, I don't think so. I think that you'll have there will be some that are fearless. That doesn't mean they're dumb. There are people right now that are still pretty much living their lives, that just because some feel like they're just going to live their lives, and that's fine too. They have a right.
It's fine to an extent. I mean, I think it's you absolutely live your life. You're right, but I just think you also have to be mindful of other people as well. Don't be totally brazen about the thing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we have to remember about it is, again, you can be asymptomatic and spread it without ever having. And you don't know what everybody else's health around you is when you go into these places. So that's the thing that we're trying to do.
Have either of you been anywhere today?
No. I went to the park across the street.
I've been to one location today, part of the business, and again, the traffic's not. But there are people everywhere. There are still. It's like there must be a lot of essential businesses. 53-47. 98 votes in the first 13 minutes. What is your confidence there will be a full college football season? 53% very high, 47 none. That right now is where we are. Trey Morris, 100% chance NFL college football is a regular season with fans in their regular stadiums.
And I do also think that part of the reason that a lot of people's confidence is very high is just not that, we think it'll be necessarily over, but just the need for it to happen. They'll figure out a way to make it work within whatever guidelines we have at that time. So
yeah,
they have to, at least for television, they have to figure out a way to make this work, and money-wise. And sometimes that leads to some bad decisions, but I do think that. But the good news is we've got plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah, no, it's just a question today.
I must know now, Paul.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a season or not?
Michael, I believe Bartome. I really need a middle of the road option here. I'm like 4 on the confidence meter that all games will be played as normal, and I get that too. I feel like, and I've missed on this thing obviously before, but I feel like there's still plenty of time left. There's 5 months. Today's April the 9th. Mm-hmm. It would be, for most teams, 5 months from now was when you'd start playing games a week or two earlier. That's still a long time, and yet again, this has gone on for a lot longer than most people thought it would, and you never know when it's going to turn the corner.
What I do think will get canceled, because I don't think you could, if there's probably a way to get 80% of your big non-conference early season games in, and that way is you tell Emporia State, I'm sorry, your game's canceled. And that's going to, and the big negative to that is that will crush those athletic departments, because those guarantee games essentially.
My alma mater and the Stephen F. Austin's, the Sam Houston States, and others, and even some others that are bigger than that, that check is huge.
Well, and you might give them.
But it's also huge for anybody that's a Power 5 school or a Group of 5 school. That's part of their check too.
Well, if you have a 75% buyout or something like that, or a 50% buyout, you might see a lot of those happen in that.
Do you think you have to buy that out?
I'm sure you have to buy it out.
What if the game, if the schedule's delayed?
I wonder if there's an act of God clause in these things.
Right.
That's a question for Mac next Tuesday at 4:20.
Is this an act of God?
Is it as close to it as it's going to get?
Is it like the Ice Age?
So like hurricanes that cancel games.
Exactly.
So is this is like a hurricane?
No, it is. Everything is an act of God.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it depends on where you are, but that everything is. And so, but this is from Leon. You got it, Paul. Asystematic. So if anyone is a carrier, it will spread. Leon says who's the one that said that no games until there's a vaccine. No fans or games until there's a vaccine. By the way, Austin Ullman last night at 7:36 on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Who's everyone's pick to take Freddie Gillespie's spot at the 5? I think 1 to 4 locked up, but I think that's center position, and of course, that's Tristan Clark.
Here's what's good news about this for Tristan Clark is he can spend this time getting confident in that leg, building it back up. And part of it is, look, he still does have some swelling, and part of it was he just, he would get sore and it just wouldn't be able to play and compete. He can work through that, because I think that knee injury was a lot more serious than he really thought it was.
From when we dem Bears on the chat line, I believe that fans will be at the games, but it might not be full capacity for a while. And from the 972, Craig, on the text line, or that you're the one who's monitoring the text line?
I got it right here.
Okay.
But it's Brian. I think it's Brian Etheridge who just sent this in. That force majeure would be that in a
contract. Yeah,
so.
there you go.
But there's got to be, and I'm sure that there's some sort of, maybe okay, if you're going to get $500,000 in a guarantee game, maybe you pay him $250 and call it a day. In this situation, because you don't. If you have the money, but okay, Texas would have that money. Like there's 10 athletic departments that will be able to weather this storm and make slight cutbacks, and then when everything comes back around, they'll be fine. The rest of them are not like that. As much money as they do make, it's still different. Texas could have this, and there's somebody that can bail them out, or they can figure out everything else, and they've got that. Ohio State's probably like that. Florida, those schools, Notre Dame, they probably have that. But there's some schools that you might think are big and have a bunch of money. Like, I'm just going to throw out NC State NC State probably can't withstand this. If there's no football or
it's the double whammy though.
Yeah.
You're talking
and basketball,
the basketball money, that revenue, and then on top of that, the Alpha Dog, the basketball revenue for Wichita State, for Creighton, for Providence.
Well, think about this too. There's schools like Texas. I saw an article on them the other day. I mean, they'll never run out of money. They got gold bars beyond belief buried under the campus or whatever. But a lot of these schools have a lot of their money due to oil or due to other businesses like that are also being affected. And so they're, not sitting on quite as high a pile of change at the moment. And they're still good compared to most everybody else, but even the schools like that are at least feeling a little bit of a hit to their accounts.
How is FedEx being affected by this, or UPS? Are they still acting? I mean,
they're still around.
They're essential. People, you still see things being delivered. Remember, that's why I looked at Memphis.
I think there's
a Power Five. It was a group of 5. And remember, we were talking about how much they could bring to the conference, FedEx, right?
They're a little slowed, obviously, because you have to practice different social distancing things, I'm sure, within a processing center. But like Amazon had to slow down their shipping because they had it down to where you could get things in one day. Well, that's not the case anymore because they can't have as many people in the warehouses anymore.
Well, and they also had the warehouse outbreaks that they became concerned about, workers going on strike because they didn't feel as though they were adhering to, the distancing rules and things like that. So there's a little bit of a tiff over that the last couple of weeks. But yeah, there's UPS, FedEx are still around delivering packages. I've gotten a couple of delivered over the last week or so. So I don't know if they are really affected other than just slowed down a little bit.
Did you get everything that was supposed to be sent to you?
I have so far. Yeah.
That's good. All right.
I still have some things I'm waiting on, but I had ordered some paper towels from Amazon just so that
for $150.
No, it was for $20. I mean, I bought $20.
I have,
and then I knew
we need to do a trade,
but it wasn't going to be anything. Like I knew I wasn't going to need it for a while. I just knew that I wanted to get ahead of the curve. Okay. So
I may need to work out a toilet paper trade in a couple of weeks. I mean, a couple of weeks from now, so I'm good. But I mean, every time I've been to a grocery store, which hasn't been in a few days, it has been just barren on that entire aisle.
Did you ever think we would get environmentalists for years, and this is going to be driving them nuts? And I'm a person who loves the earth, but people have been talking about paper production, how much paper we use and how much we burn down and how many trees we kill. I did not think that we could get to a point where we were not making enough paper in this country.
Yeah, we're here.
I didn't think that we'd hit critical
mass. I think we're
mass.
making plenty. The problem is the same people are the ones lined up outside the grocery chains at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 in the morning to go get more.
Every single day, yeah. There's certainly
or
those
sanitizing wipes or paper towels.
Like what I would ask them is,
but you can get kumquats.
What's going on? If you have to hoard that much paper, what's going on in your life that you maybe need to change dietarily?
And listen, there are families, houses, where there are many people. There may be 4, 5, or 6 kids, or 8 or 9 people that live in the house, or someone who's just really regular.
Yeah,
but
before the last trip to Walmart I went to, I was like, I'm gonna go grab like a 6-pack roll or whatever they have. Hopefully, they just have some toilet paper. Of course, they didn't have any. But as I was going to check out, this was a couple of weeks ago, saw somebody with, I don't know where they had 24 packs, had 2 of those bad boys. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how? Like, what 48 rolls of toilet paper do you really think you're going to need to stock up? But like you said, maybe it's a family of 9 or something. I don't know, but it is pretty nuts.
Yeah, it would be pretty fun on the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. What is the one thing, if you've hoarded something besides the gold mine of toilet paper and paper towels and disinfectant wipes, what would be that other thing you have possibly gotten more of than you normally would? In water, now cases of water, they were barren, now they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can only take 1 24 or 32 pack. All right, when we come back, it starts a landslide of guests. He does. He's a Hall of Famer coming up this summer. Former Cowboy safety Cliff Harris. Also today, baseball coach Steve Rodriguez. Max Olson, theathletic.com. Max reached out to me soon after, earlier in the mid part of, I guess, March, and said, hey, let me know what you're doing. He's going to be on today to just kind of discuss even somewhat we discussed about what will happen when football, if it ever does come back. Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys.com, DallasCowboys.com at 4:30. The great Clyde Hart, Jeremy Warner, So I say 3 or 4 four-time Olympic champion. Is that right, Bart? 3 or 4-time Olympic champion. Gold medalist, not champion, but gold medalist.
He's got some other medals, though, too.
MaCio Teague, has dipped his toes in the water when it comes to the NBA. Seth Russell. Spencer Drango. Start to finish, 324. This is SicEm365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
We will have soon to be, he's a Hall of Famer, but inducted sometime this summer based on what is allowed by the time they get to early August, or is it late July, with Canton, Ohio. And that's something that could be affected. So you wait all your career after you've retired for many, many years, and Cliff Harris will be inducted among that huge group that will be inducted. And then all of a sudden you get to that point where you're finally being recognized and you might not even have that ceremony. That's possible. We will hear from Cliff Harris, Cowboys soon-to-be Hall of Famer. Craig Smoak, though, before we get to Crash, I just got this from Brandon Avance. Do all the streaming services you have cost you about the same? Should I listen through a specific type or help you guys out more? Brandon, the best thing to do, the easiest thing to do right now is you can go to various type options to hear us. And Craig, you go through those if you want.
Well, I mean, you can listen on SicEm365.com. There's a live link posted there. We've got live links posted on Twitter as well. You can go and follow SicEm365 Radio on Twitter to know the guest list each day, and also the live link will be up there on most of our pages. There's also Facebook. You can listen to the show through Facebook. You can listen to the show through Periscope. And that app, and I'm probably missing one or two. We're still working on TuneIn Radio, but pretty much just about anywhere you can listen to something, you can listen to us. So you've got plenty of options. I know that one thing that people have said, not as a criticism, but just as something that they need to see tweaked at some point, is that with some of these apps, you can't listen in the background. For example, your phone goes to black, then the stream cuts off rather than just staying steady. So we're working on having to where there's a stream that you don't have to worry about your phone going black and it cutting it off, or you go into a different app and it cutting the stream off. But for right now, Periscope, Facebook, the SicEm365.com, and I'm probably missing one or two with some more that we're working on. So sooner rather than later, we will be all across every platform imaginable, I would think. And, of course, we're always open for business on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line at 254-339-1122. We also, for SicEm365 members, have the chat room as well that you can access by looking under the premium section, and there's a chat room. And so there's an ability as well for you to pass along a question for a guest that you may have, or just a comment you want to chime in on the show with. So we're everywhere, just about at this point already, and should allow you to have something that you eventually settle on, but we'll have even more options in the future as well.
All right, Paul's trying to track down the Hall of Famer and Cliff Harris.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a couple minutes. I've given him a voicemail and a text.
Okay,
and let's see if he
and
can.
we have Steve Rodriguez coming up at the end of the hour, and so I'm going to see if we might be able to flip him around. Later on, Clyde Hart, Jeremy Warner, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, Seth Russell, Spencer Drango, and much more to come.
Leon hit us up on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, and he was commenting on our toilet paper talk and said they might have a big you-know-what for all that toilet paper. He didn't say you-know-what, but I'm going to keep it clean for the time being, although, quite frankly, on this medium, we could say whatever we wanted to. But Leon's saying maybe it's somebody with a big old booty that needs all that toilet paper. Also from the 254, Walton Waco, glad to have you guys back. These past 3 days have restored a little normalcy to an otherwise strange world. Keep it up. Don't ever leave us again. And then also added, I stocked up on beer, vodka, tonic, and limes. So thank you, Walt in Waco.
Okay, let me go over that again. Beer,
vodka, tonic, and limes.
Paul?
Hey,
vodka, tonic, and limes. Is that margaritas? Is that gin tonic?
Vodka, tonic, and lime.
Yeah.
And some beer.
Yeah. Apparently, tonic.
Hey, by the way, speaking of that, craft beer that is at Riverbend Liquor and Wine is fantastic. You got a whole 2 or 3 shelves of it.
They have all that stuff there. Get your tonic water. Apparently, tonic water has some good health things.
Call Steve Rodriguez. He's ready right now. We're going to flip. We'll start working on. Working on Cliff Harris, who was like kind of lead us off today, and that's going to happen. We've actually 3 days into this. We've had everybody where they're supposed to be. He is up in the hills of Arkansas, and that can be tricky, and that can be very, very tricky. All right, one other note on the go back to this poll that we had. That this thing got lit up pretty good, very quickly. Surprisingly, I didn't know how much. Amy Padgett, I'm confident about nothing at the moment except wine.
Except wine, yes. That's not a surprising answer from her.
244 of you have reacted on my Twitter page. What is your confidence there will be a full college season? 54.5% high and 45.4% None. We're now joined by Baylor baseball coach Steve Rodriguez, and obviously so many things have been shut down and delayed and suspended. It's affected a lot of different people. Steve, how much have you learned about technology that you did not know about prior to all of this?
Well, I'll tell you what, Smoak, one of the big things about our program, and I'll be honest, just working with young kids, is you get a chance to really understand the use of technology and different ways that you can use it, the ability to communicate with it. And so, we've been using FaceTime just to make sure, it's easy to text and make phone calls to our guys. But like I told them, I want to see their face, make sure they're doing okay, and just kind of just check in on them. And so all of us have been doing a lot of FaceTime calls. And then we had a Zoom call the other day, just to make sure we wanted to get everybody on the same computer screen. And so that was fun. Everybody was kind of like, hopefully just like having some fun and being able to see everybody, all across the country, wherever they are. And so, the technology ability that we've had here just with our program has been unbelievable. And then I think when you have something like the pandemic that we're dealing with, I think the rest of the world really starts to understand how valuable it is.
Coach, you have an interesting challenge and opportunity ahead of you in that all your seniors who did not get to have their senior year are going to have the option to come back. This for baseball coaches is probably – you probably have a model in place because of the draft and how you have to deal with this almost every year, but will it be interesting to see and challenging to see how you fit a roster together with a lot of these guys coming back, especially given your scholarship structure with baseball, which is not like it is with football where pretty much everybody gets everything paid for?
Right. No, it's going to be difficult. And I'm not saying, it's going to be easy in any respect, but, at baseball coaches, we kind of every year we have to deal with the same thing. We have to deal with the major league draft. We have to deal with, kids who, aren't able or their families aren't able to continue to pay for school, and so we've become really good at the nut and shell game in regards to just moving things around and finding a way to make it work as best we can. I'm not saying it's always happy. I'm not saying there are always great conversations. But it's going to be a little bit different this year. Obviously we have a bunch of seniors coming back. Most of them are pitchers. And then the Major League Baseball draft, I'll tell you what, we're used to dealing with it, but the change that they've had and the ramifications it's going to bring to a lot of Division I programs is probably the bigger thing. When you have a draft of 40 rounds and you're anticipating certain guys getting drafted and then all of a sudden they change it to where it's going to be 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 rounds. Now you're looking at your program going, okay, I was expecting him to maybe be drafted in the teens or late 20s, and now he's probably coming back to school. And so you have to start restructuring some things. And just as our coaching staff, we've kind of sat and talked about a lot of the numbers of a lot of the guys and just how we're going to make it work. And we're going to make it work. But I said, it's not going to be great phone calls all the time, but at the same time, we're pretty much used to it.
Coach, from a health standpoint, when you're having to ramp up a pitcher or anybody on the team for that matter, you get them ramped up for the season, they get started, and then they come to this kind of screeching halt. Does that make it difficult in any way as far as dealing with their bodies and things like that?
Well, what's great is I don't have to deal with them now.
Well, yeah, true.
And so the hardest part is, there's a lot of people who are like, okay, is there going to be summer ball? What are they going to do? How do you get yourself in shape for that? And I think that's one thing that Major League Baseball did is they gave themselves an out with when they're going to actually have the draft because of how long this, shelter in place or, social distancing is going to take place. So they could possibly have the draft in like later July because they don't want to draft guys and then not have them do anything. So I think for us, it's a matter of safety of like, what's the next step for them to do? If they're going to go and play summer ball, we got to make sure that they're properly taken care of and that their build-up is okay. But if they're going to go play pro ball, I'm sure that the Major League Baseball teams have an understanding of that. You're pretty limited. You can, go and throw into a net. You can go and throw to a buddy maybe. But the game speed and the game endurance is not going to be there just yet. And we actually, as a coaching staff, had a conversation about that today, just in regards to, when all of this kind of clears up, do we want to start earlier in the fall just because we're missing out on so much development time with our guys?
Steve, Paul brought up the fact about the rosters and how either those who want to come back or not, and then those coming in, and you mentioned the draft as well. The NCAA makes this decision. Did they consult coaches?
I think there was a lot of consulting. I think at one point, we would contact our sport administrator or our athletic director, and we would give them our take on it in regards to like how we saw it kind of working, in regards to like just the overall, wellness for the student athlete, the overall wellness for the team, the overall wellness for the younger players. How does that look? And so we had to like really sit down and imagine if I'm a freshman and I'm coming, I'm beginning freshman again, but now all these seniors are coming back. When is my chance to get elevated in the program? And so, we had an opportunity to explain a lot of that to our athletic director and our sport administrator. And then I know that they had, I would say, probably 5,000 calls and Zoom conferences just to try to get a lot of it in order before the NCAA did what they did.
Obviously, it stings to every player that they are – their season's coming to an end. But I thought about every guy across the country who is locked in and having a career year. Sports is a funny thing, and Steve's a guy who played baseball for a long time. Baseball and hitting or being on a streak is a funny thing. How much mental work are you going to have to do with some of these guys so they don't fall into that, like, oh, man, I'll never do that again? Like, it just because of how, sometimes things can get when you're locked in.
No, I'll tell you what, we had a couple guys who were really locked in, and it was really fun to watch. And some guys who had been battling injuries, and they were in such a good place. And then all of a sudden, like you said, it comes to a screeching halt. And now it's just like, okay, now what? Athletes are phenomenal. They are absolutely unbelievable at dealing with adversity. They just are. And if they aren't, they're probably not going to be great athletes for very long. But good athletes just find a way to deal with adversity on a consistent basis. Whether it's weather, whether it's travel, whether it's, playing time, injury, coaches, parents, you name it, they have to deal with a lot of different things. And, this is, like I told our guys, the best thing you can do right now is to sit back, watch, listen, learn, because things like this are some of the greatest learning tools that you can possibly have. I've kind of gone through a couple, NCAA issues or whatever it is, and you start to, if you really allow it, you can really educate yourself on how it should be handled, how you communicate, what you tell people, the energy you're going to give off. Are you going to be positive? Are you going to be negative? And just really being able to take a lot of that information into life and being able to utilize it. Because sometimes, there are CEOs paying big money for educational lessons like this in corporations and companies. And now people are trying to revisit how they actually do business based off budgets and, at home, in the office, travel. And so things like this, when you're really looked at subjectively, can really make a situation and organization better, even though the immediate is a very frustrating and very humbling time right now as well.
You were able to get 16 games in, and you had the giant win in the Shriners Classic as a great tournament win. How did you feel about where y'all were 16 games in, and with conference play obviously on the horizon? Where did you kind of see the team at that time, and where did you think you guys were headed?
Man, I'll tell you what, I thought we were in a really good place. I really did. Just watching our guys play, especially down there in Houston, and some big-time environments against some really good teams, and us kind of sweeping through that the way we did, and you could see that our guys had really found a grasp of how good they actually can be, and they were really excited to kind of get back to playing and then starting into conference, and then all of a sudden it comes to a screeching halt, and it's frustrating because like you said, 16 games, and we were starting to get some guys back and healthy, and I was really looking forward to seeing what they were going to be able to produce for us.
Steve, thinking about you guys, how you juggle all of this. Obviously, everyone's going through it, all the sports, and it's just kind of a time that we've never seen anything like this before. And we feel for everybody, obviously those who are not feeling very well, and, of course, those who are taking care of those who are ill as well. And we appreciate you jumping on with us, and good luck with all of whatever is next.
Oh, I appreciate it, Smoak. I'll tell you what, it's a humbling time, but, and it's frustrating, and I don't want to sit here and just say I'm going to complain the whole time about it. But at the same time, we're going to take advantage of the opportunity. Everybody complains a lot about not having time to do things. Well, we've been given the gift of time now. So now it's an opportunity to spend time with loved ones and family, and just being able to go and maybe just kind of sit and play cards and watch movies and just do some things around the house that we don't normally get a chance to do. So take advantage of those times.
Thank you. That's Coach Rodriguez, Steve Rodriguez, Baylor baseball coach, with us on SicEm365 Radio, and just kind of what all he's been through.
Yeah,
and as a program.
He had a whirlrust there.
Yeah.
I mean, to be right in the midst of a season, getting geared up for conference play, and all of a sudden they just say, oh, we're pulling the plug on that. It's it's frustrating, as he said it was, and he said, they felt like they were in a really good place, had really found something, and we're going to be in a good spot moving forward. So, he felt that way, but a lot of other coaches did as well. So, like he was mentioning, it's just something we're all dealing with right now, and I really like how he ended that, talking about how we always complain about not having enough time for this or that. Well, we do have time now, and I thought that was a good message from him.
By the way, Cliff Harris, soon-to-be Hall of Famer, will be on with us here momentarily. Paul's getting in touch with him. We'll have him. We'll go ahead and just take it straight from Steve Rodriguez to Cliff Harris as well. By the way, the poll is up. What is your confidence there will be a college football season? Very high, 55%, none, 45%, 317 of you have voted in less than really almost 45 minutes. We're now joined by Hall of Famer, soon to be inducted, Hall of Fame safety, Cliff Harris of the Dallas Cowboys. You've waited all this time, and Cliff, thank you. My goodness, we appreciate you being a part of it. You've waited all this time. Is there any nervousness about when this might actually happen if things get pushed back?
Well, we just had a conference call with all the guys yesterday, and with David Baker and his staff, and they gave us 4 different options, or really 5 different options that might happen, and then told us at the end it's still not decided, and it may be the end of May before we know. So it's quite a year. I mean, the good thing is I'm in the Hall of Fame. The other part of it is I just don't know when I'm going to be inducted. There's a lot of different scenarios they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. You played with a lot of other Hall of Famers, and you watch guys go in. Was there ever any, did it sting when you weren't getting in, knowing the career you'd put on, or is that something that fans put on, when we want somebody to get in?
No, I look at it as just a blessing, and it's really an interesting kind of mindset. Mine might be a little different than, I really never thought in my mind ever to try to be all pro. I just wanted to do the best I could do every year and give it everything that I had, and then to let the chips fall where they may. And that's the kind of same mentality that I've had with this Hall of Fame. I did all I could do. There was, I've got a lot of other things in my life to worry about other than the Hall of Fame. And, but it is something that, good gosh, I found out. I almost fell over when they told me. So I know that it had a major impact in my head and my heart,
I was actually going to ask you if you could take us kind of through how you got the news, and you just told us sort of what your reaction was there, but how did that sort of unfold to where you knew that there was voting going on, you knew that you were in the mix, but how did you learn that you were in fact going in, and subsequently what was the fallout from learning that news?
Well, it was an interesting scenario. I mean, this year, because they've added guys to the number of players going into the Hall of Fame, because it's the centennial year for the NFL, which also complicates things for our induction too. But the way that it happened is, the TV stations wanted to come to my house and have 3 TV stations with trucks and everything outside my house from 6 o'clock in the morning or before 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking, gosh, so I just, I've had a good friend, Kelsey Warren, who's the CEO of Energy Transfer. He let me use his office. So, so we had a bunch of the guys, up in his office. There were probably 10 guys up there early in the morning, just like me and the TV station. So, we sat there and waited, and David Baker called me, and I actually was so nervous. I didn't answer his phone call the first time. And I didn't know, and I had it in my pocket, and I was just waiting, and I didn't know what I was waiting on. I knew that it was supposed to call, but I wasn't thinking, I was not thinking clearly. So, but he called, and I started walking. He wanted to talk to me, and so I started walking out of the room, and they said, "Well, you made it to the Hall of Fame." And guys in there, they all said my knees buckled, so
I bet.
I almost fell over. It was a really interesting and fun and exciting moment.
It's one of the few times your knees buckled, because that's what you did when you hit people. Right? Charlie Waters told us a story yesterday, and Cliff, we had Charlie on yesterday, and of course that's your running buddy, and he said that Herb Adderley one time came up to you, I think, during a game. I don't remember the game or the moment. He said, "Cliff, we wear the same jerseys because when you hit somebody, there was collateral damage with other players on your team."
That's highly exaggerated. And, Charlie Waters, who's doing my induction speech, a matter of fact, and I'm going to have to get him reeled in a little bit. That's blown way out of proportion. It's grown over the years. I knew who to hit. I may have run into a couple of our guys every now and then. I know that one time during a game, we were playing the Baltimore Colts. Charlie was cornerback, and I was playing free safety. That's when Charlie was at corner instead of safety. And they threw it down and in, and I hit both the guys, both Charlie and the wide receiver, and knocked them both out. So there was, you've got to do what you got to do. And, the thing about it is, it was not like it was not in my mind to go out there, and I wanted people to understand this kind of strategy. It was not in my mind to go out there every game and say, "Man, I'm a tough hitter," and because NFL guys will go after you. They'll come after you thinking you are. Well, I didn't do that. What I would do was every now and then I'd really smack a wide receiver, knock him down and knock him out, because you could do that then. And the guys that would come up the next week would see that on the film and go, wow. And then so the next week I'd either run right past him when there was a pass overthrown and go, "Whoa, I had you," so that they would, as we say in pro ball, they short arm things.
Yeah.
They have a tendency. So, it was just a game. It was a fun game we played during those years.
Cliff Harris, soon to be Hall of Famer, with us on SicEm365 Radio. You were undrafted. Someone else who was up, obviously, was a tough situation for Drew Pearson. But the Cowboys made a living on not just great trades and great draft picks, but they also made a great living on undrafted free agents. Heck, even now with what Romo was, among some others.
Yeah.
How special was that franchise with Gil Brandt, Tex Schramm, Tom Landry, and everyone else?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I owed Gil Brandt so much. I mean, he had a system that courted the small college coaches all over the United States to find out information of who the good players, great players were in their small colleges and in their opponents. And then Gil also went on, he brought Tony Frisch in from Austria as a kicker for us. We had Bob Hayes as an Olympic sprinter, and we had a lot of guys that were Olympic runners and that would come out and try out for football. And many didn't make it. Most didn't make it. Cornell Green was a basketball player. Rayfield Wright was a basketball player. So, and I was a free agent from Washington Baptist, and I recognized the difficulty in making it in the pros from a small college, because I give the Cliff Harris Award away every year to the best college, where the big trophy goes to the best defensive player in small college, D2, D3, and NAIA, 550 colleges. There's, let's just say there's 5,000 guys as seniors that graduate, and I'll bet you 50 of them, 70, give them 70, or that have a chance to try out. I know it's less than 50, even try out for the NFL. So I give them recognition, give them a big trophy, and have a big banquet where they come in and give them the trophy and everything. So it's a really neat deal. Cliff Harris Award. Was it terrible to have to cover Bob Hayes in practice? I've got a great story about that. So Bob Hayes, when I went out to training camp my first year, there was a strike in the NFL, and the strike kept the veterans out for long enough for us to play 6 rookie games and for the coaches to have a chance to look at me and find out what kind of player I was. Well, the veterans then came into town. They cut a bunch of the rookies, and we had long lines. We had 125 rookies that year, 125 rookies. And so we had defensive backs deep. We had 10 or 12 or 15, and also receivers. Well, they cut them all down later and later, like more and more cuts. But I was counting back because we were playing man-to-man coverage in the first time that the veterans came in. The first day, and Bob Hayes, and I counted back. I said, oh, my gosh, I'm covering Bob Hayes. And Bob Hayes, and I was on him. I was really, really nervous. And he ran a route and took off like he was going to take off. And he turned around, ran a turn-in, and I came over his back and knocked the ball down. And I went, wow, I covered Bob Hayes. The next time it came around, it was not my turn, but Bob Hayes pointed to me and said, hey, get back up here, rookie. And so I got up there, and I was like, really nervous again. And he just went, ran down the field 90 miles an hour. Just, made one fake, and I went for it, and he blew past it, and he came back and just smiled, So I've got a great Bob Hayes story.
Cliff, what will be
a good friend?
And another guy. By the way, I was there the day that he was finally announced as a part of the Hall of Fame. Someone else who had to wait too long. Rayfield Wright even did. What is going to be more emotional? The call that buckled your knees, or when it's official and you're introduced the day that they introduced the class of 2020?
Well, it took me by surprise, to be honest with you, that I was that emotional when they called and told me. So I'm not going to make any predictions. I think, it's going to be there are so many different possibilities. They may do it at home. They may do it at the first preseason game. They may do it after the first the Hall of Fame game where the young guys are going in, the presidency players, and maybe do it a little later after that, or we were doing it in September, or they may do it in the Cowboys Stadium, or they may do it next year. So I don't know, but the emotion, I just can't predict it. You're a pro football player, so you learn how to manage your feelings and emotions and, anxiety and everything else come into it. Sometimes I don't know how nervous I really am. I really don't know how nervous I am until, I look down and my knees are shaking, So I don't know what to expect. I know it's going to be good. They've already had the sculptor come to my house and manage for measure, take pictures and everything for the bust up there. That's going to be really, really interesting.
Last question I have: 5 Super Bowl appearances. You won 2. 6 Pro Bowls, first team All-Pro 4 times, All-Pro a second team, All-Decades team, Ring of Honor, all that, the All-Arkansas Hall of Fame, all of that. The name that's on an award under you with your name. It's obvious what you accomplished. If you could say why you're a Hall of Famer, if that's not uncomfortable for you to do, why are you?
Well, I think it's one of the things that the major thing that has to happen is you have to be recognized by your peers and your opponents, and to for them to support you and say that you should go into the Hall of Fame. Because I know that the Hall of Fame committee called a bunch of former, quarterbacks in our era, and I heard a lot of good things that came from those guys, and a lot of good things and compliments on me. And then you've got the committee up there. You just got to be able to, make a difference and make a difference in the game, and have, at least for a defensive player, have the defense have to be concerned with you, and have to make sure that that you're taken care of and beaten in the game to win. And you're one of those guys. And if you're one of those guys for many years, then you should have the opportunity to go in the Hall of Fame.
You absolutely earned it. Cliff, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Have fun up in the hills. Thank you so much. That's Cliff Harris.
I'm going for a hike right now.
There you go. Thank you so much. Cliff Harris, Hall of Famer, and so many options. So you wait all this time. He's in. But then you wait all this time and there's no induction, or you don't know when that's going to be. And you know what? That's okay. He's in. That call that he got, he's in. That's all that matters. But you still want that moment where you're inducted. And then no matter what, the bust will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. All right, hope you enjoyed the first hour. 2 to go. And coming up, Max Olson, theathletic.com on college football, what it is today, what it will be in, who knows, 3 or 4 months, and what it might not be. Next on SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
And it's Brewer keeping it to the outside. Brewer lays the shoulder, dive, touchdown.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I really appreciate this text line that we just received from Nate in Hewitt. Hey guys, checking in. I have had your show on each day this week, and today it's no different. It dawned on me how much each of you are a part of my day. Just a few minutes ago, my wife walked into my office to chat, listened to the show for about 5 minutes, and said, I'm so glad SicEm365 made the decision to hire these guys, and I'm so glad we subscribed to the website. A sincere thank you for your effort each day. Another outstanding show. Thank you, Nate, and your wife in Hewitt. We're now joined by Max Olson, the Athletic. And Max, there's so many questions. I just put up a simple poll just a minute ago, about an hour ago, that said your thoughts about confidence in the season being played, very high or none. And very high has an advantage, and there's some of the responses as well. You're trying to get the responses from coaches. You've heard from a lot of them. What is your feeling on what they think?
I mean, I think you know just how college athletics run. I think that the reality is, and you'll see lots of people throw out lots of different ideas, because right now that's what's going on. Administrators throughout the country are trying to talk through what are all the different scenarios. But I think we all know that, I believe there will be a college football season. I don't know when that season will be. I don't know if it'll be in the fall or the spring or winter or whatever. But I believe there will be a college football season, because if there isn't a college football season, it's just absolutely devastating to all college athletic departments across the country. So they are incredibly invested, I think, in finding a way. Now, look, it's hard for any of us to sit here and forecast how things are going to look in August and beyond. It's just impossible right now. So you're hopeful that the conditions improve. I think certainly there's a lot of check marks that have to happen before then. I think we have to have widespread access to testing and faster testing and a really good sense of just how many people have COVID-19 by that point. But there's a lot of things as a country that have to improve. But I'm a firm believer that, that they are going to find some way, if it's a reduced season or whatever it may be, they're going to try to find a way to play some games. And clearly you hear from ADs that they want to play games with fans in the stands.
John Sharp put out a scenario yesterday, the chancellor at Texas A&M, where they play a full season and just start it in October and deal with everything else that comes with it right after that. Do you think that one, any full season scenario would go over any partial season scenario?
Yeah, I get that, trying to throw up those kind of ideas, and I believe he said that the SEC and all them have backed it up. To me, it's all just speculative at this point. I mean, none of us have a crystal ball on just what the conditions will be. And I think I heard Chip Kelly say today, I think this is a really good point, that ultimately this is going to come down to the government too, because even if the NCAA says, hey, we're getting back to action here, we're going to start this college football season on this date, Chip Kelly knows that in his state, Gavin Newsom could just say, no, that's not happening, and it's not happening. So it's going to take a lot of collaboration from some very high-level people to actually clear the way for this stuff. But, yeah, the short season versus the full season, I think is a fascinating problem. And like I said, sort of speaks to the desperation to make something happen. And, I saw one proposal of, well, they can play out a short season with no postseason. I don't think we're going to have a world where there's no postseason either. So there's a lot of complex problems you got to kind of work out in trying to, come up with some shortened version of this.
Max, who do you think had the worst week or last week or two in terms of negative headlines, Mike Gundy or Mike Leach?
I would. That's a great question. I would say Mike Gundy, and I hope that look, I have no doubt that Mike Gundy's reaction to the backlash on that is that that he's right and everybody's wrong and all that. But I would hope that he'd listen to some folks and listen to his own university, which kind of pushed back very quickly against what he had to say. And look, I appreciate these coaches anytime they want to do a teleconference and want to try and talk to the media and the public and get their thoughts out there. I appreciate them taking the time to do that, but you got to do your research and you got to be responsible, with what you say and how prepared you are for those deals. Because as many people have pointed out, Mike Gundy is one of the highest paid people in public workers in the state of Oklahoma there. So there's a lot of people that are listening to him and taking the cues from him. And if you're putting misinformation out there, I think that's dangerous.
It is dangerous, and yet we want people to be honest, and then there's times when you're like, maybe not that honest. Right.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, yeah, and I thought it was funny that he can sort of wrap everything he had to say around, well, hey, this is just my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion, and that's totally true. I get that, but at the same time, I think it's not that hard of a thing to be responsible and respectful in terms of how you approach this stuff and do your research. And I think Mike Gundy just probably, like a lot of us, was probably a little stir crazy from being, isolated for so long and had a lot of things on his mind. And I would think he learned from the backlash the other day for sure.
All right, let me throw this in there before, Paul, your question, or Craig. Darren Ravel, 72% of Americans say they would not attend a game before a coronavirus vaccine was available. This according to the Hall Sports poll just released among sports fans. The poll found that 61% of them said they would not attend. That's higher than I thought, but again, that's also, we don't know the cross-section there. Is that about what you think, Max?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you buy that? Do you think about your own, the fan base there in Waco? Do you think fans feel that way?
Man, it's hard to tell right now. It's hard. It's actually really hard to tell because there's so many people that are gung-ho, but it feels like for every gung-ho person, there's somebody who is to the extreme, the opposite direction. I almost feel like it would be half. It's about 50-50 at this point.
Here's a poll that I put up, and this is not about really that, but in a way, this might help. What is your confidence there will be a college football season, a full college football season? 400 votes so far. 56.6 say very high, 43.4 say none. So that would lean towards people thinking there's a season, and if there's a season, I guess they would think that maybe about 55 or 60% might actually perhaps attend the game. Paul?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm up here in Nebraska. We actually don't have a shelter-in-place order here. So, I was able to go over to the grocery store and go over to Target today, and, I'm certainly a little bit uncomfortable in doing that and hope, trying to keep some distance from people. You do see a lot of people wearing masks and stuff like that, and that's great. But even just in some of those settings, it makes you a little nervous. The idea of 50,000 or 90,000 people, being packed together in a stadium right now is obviously a terrible idea, right? It's very obviously a terrible idea. Mm-hmm. And so certainly a lot has got to change between now and September for us to get to a point where anybody's comfortable with that. And I just can't see a way where we're keeping, 6 feet apart from each other, in a stadium or an arena or anything like that. So I really am hopeful that, we get to a point where we can, flatten the curve enough that people are comfortable with that idea. But if anyone says they're not right now, totally get that.
Yeah, that's why I think that they wouldn't do it until they can do a full stadium, because it would just be too many logistical nightmares for them. And then it's either empty stadiums or full stadiums and full go, because, what would the logistical nightmare of, okay, we're only going to sell, 40,000 tickets instead of 90,000 tickets, but all those people have to sit 6 feet apart. That's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, and not to mention, in putting on a public event like that, if if there's an outbreak of COVID-19 at your sporting event, aren't you pretty liable for putting that on? I think that's something that has to concern a lot of administrators and probably a lot of city officials too. So, yeah, I don't really know how that works. It's funny that, you guys remember back to Kansas City here, where we were all sort of like trying to talk ourselves in this idea that it would work just fine for the Big 12 tournament until things took a turn with the NCAA and with the NBA and all that. But like, I don't know. I have a hard time picturing, a college football game where there's only 250 people in the whole building,
Absolutely. That was the weirdest 27-hour trip to Kansas City I've ever been a part of. That was wild. Max, it's been a little while since you wrote this piece, but we talked to Mac Rhodes a couple of days ago. You wrote this for The Athletic about 3 weeks ago, talking to him about the dreams and hopes that they had for the rest of this spring semester. And you had both basketball teams very highly rated. Baseball was looking pretty good, et cetera. We could kind of sense some of the pain in his voice and also the concern because he's got this athletic department to worry about now. But how much were you able to glean just the disappointment and, sadness, if you will, from Mac Rhodes on what if with his spring sports calendar?
Yeah, it was, certainly in talking to Mac Rhodes on the day this was all going down, I was just certainly impressed by his leadership. And like, even on that day when we were talking about it, he felt like he already had a good sense that he felt like there'd be momentum for the spring sports to get a waiver. And he felt that day like there would not be momentum at all for the winter sports to get it. So like, he already kind of knew where the wind was blowing on this stuff, as it was all kind of, before the dust even really settled. So it shows you what kind of leader Baylor has in a guy that, first of all, definitely knows how to say all the right things and strike the right tone in approaching this stuff. But yeah, absolutely. The disappointment is inevitable and it's brutal for Baylor and for those winter sports teams. You wish you could do something for them. You wish you could give them that chance to play for a championship and all that. And clearly, Mark Emmert and the NCAA and everybody felt like the championships were a super important thing, but it's just remarkable how quickly things changed while you guys were there. And it's such a bummer. It's a really interesting what if this college basketball season, and just really sad that it ended the way it did.
Paul, anything else? Max, you reached out to me. It's been about 2 weeks before really we knew anything of what was going on, and I'll never forget that. Thank you very much for being loyal. You're a part of the shows with us, Craig, before, and you know what? We appreciate it. We can't wait to have you on every Thursday to talk college football and talk, hopefully, at some point down the road, everyone's safe or at least better, and then we can discuss football itself. Thanks for your time.
Well, Smokey, I can tell you guys have clearly gone with the all-star list of guests this week, so I'm honored to even make the cut.
Glad to have you, man. Really glad to have you.
Thank you, buddy. That's Max Olson, theathletic.com, and his how about that? He's in a state where there is no stay-at-home.
Yeah, and those states are getting a lot of flack right now.
Yeah,
a lot of it because, and look, a lot of them don't have a lot of reported cases yet because most of them are pretty much right in that center vein of the country.
Yeah.
Arkansas, Nebraska, all that. But you're kind of playing fast and loose.
But just because it's against the grain doesn't mean it's wrong. I get the safety. I get that they could be overwhelmed at any time.
I think that we've seen that it is. I think that the international way of not sheltering in place is what...
you guys are on a completely different edge of this, and I'm not, and we just disagree with it. It doesn't mean it's not serious, but just because they're not safe at home or staying at home doesn't mean Nebraska or whatever state, not because it's my born state, they can make decisions.
They absolutely can make decisions. We're obviously on like a little bit of a different wavelength. I read a piece just last night that showed very matter-of-factly that social distancing is keeping cases down. It's not some myth. It's not some tinkering with numbers. It's fact. It shows for a fact that social distancing is keeping the numbers of infections down. So
with the population in Nebraska, most of them are that far apart anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why. And I do think one of the things I do like that we've started to learn in all this is that individual states have to make their own individual decisions. That's what our whole government was set up to do from the jump, and they have to make their own individual decisions. You don't have to be like New York City, but we need to learn from New York City and see how it applies on a smaller scale and everything else. And I do think states have been applying that. I think the ones that have been in trouble for it are the ones like Georgia who didn't do it, and they've got Atlanta right there, and you're like, all right, now the people are on top of each other in Atlanta. You got to make sure that if
you're right, the way the Constitution was written, the way our country was written, states have their own rights.
And that's
doesn't mean they don't screw it up.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we went from Max Olson, who's going to be with us on Thursdays at 4 college football. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. I've had Mickey on the show from back in the days when I was at KTBB Radio in Tyler for like 25 or so years. He's going to join us on Thursdays at 4:30. There's not a lot, but there is the draft. And he's next on SicEm365 Radio. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Later in this hour, former Baylor track coach, and you talk about somebody who coached some great names in track and field history, Clyde Hart. We'll also hear a little bit from Olympic gold medalist Jeremy Warner. Had a great conversation today with Baylor's current track coach in Todd Harbor. That'll be later in this hour. Right now, we're joined by Mickey Spagnola, or will be by Mickey Spagnola from DallasCowboys.com. Thanks to a lot of you again on the poll about, do you feel like college football will be back? Your confidence, very high or none, 450. Very high, 56.9%. That's climbed a little bit. None, no confidence, 43.1%. Some of the responses: football season will happen, expect reduced attendance this year, and many fans are afraid to come back. I mentioned Sehan, Mark, Michael's comments, also Trey. He feels like 100% both seasons, regular seasons, will be back with fans in the stadiums as well. So that's the tweet. That thing's gone off more than I thought.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people on Twitter these days, a lot of people at home. So, with a poll like that, it's pretty simple to just click a button and get your vote registered. I know some have made some comments as well. I will mention one note from SicEm365 today. Cisco Caston, who is a Baylor commit for 2021, defensive back, picked up a Florida State offer. So Paul's Knowles over there working on a Baylor commit, but that was an interesting note
Here's
today.
an email. I got a statement from him.
No. None of that's true. None of that's true.
All right, so the NFL right now, they're in wait and see, although there's a lot of feeling that they're going to do everything they can to get this thing going, but they're going to have the draft no matter what in a very different way at the end of this month. Mickey Spagnola joins us, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, this is now the third time that you have remained loyal to me on a segment with a show that I'm a part of with Paul and Craig as well. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you just kind of following me around as you meander through my career.
Yeah, well, I've been in the same place all these years. You keep moving around.
All right, so let's start with Aldon Smith, and then we'll get into the draft. Your thoughts about what they've done with bringing him in to the fold?
Well, they've got his rights. He won't be in the fold until the commissioner says you're in the fold. So he is still on reserve, suspended. So I know everybody got excited when they saw this, but again, he's got to be reinstated by the commissioner, and we know how those things sometimes can go. Same thing with Randy Gregory. Everybody's fired up that he applied for reinstatement, but you got to get reinstated first. So we start there. The second thing is, I saw a bunch of stuff, how his contract was reported, but it's basically a 1-year deal that can be $2 million. So basically they signed him to a base salary of $910,000, which would be the minimum for a guy going into his 6th year in the league. And the rest of it is all bonuses tied, and it's not a signing bonus. They're incentive bonuses tied to being reinstated, bonus tied to going to training camp, playing 2 preseason games, being on the roster for the start of the season. So there's various things like that. So it's a very low risk contract for the Cowboys. Now you would think it's a high reward, but the other thing we have to remember is he has not played an NFL game since November 15th of 2015. So to me, I think I counted it up. If he actually plays in September, that'll be his first game in like 57 months. And if you look at the previous seasons, he didn't play that many games before that, other than his first two and a half years in the league before he ran into all the different problems. And you can go online and print out, I think I printed out a dozen things that he got himself into, regardless if it was violating the substance abuse program, violating being suspended for alcohol abuse or domestic abuse. So to me, this is a real long shot. So I don't know that everybody ought to herald the fact that this guy's coming back when he had last played in the 2015 season. Now, if it works, and think about this, you guys, and it's beyond me to think of somebody that hasn't played for nearly 5 years and tried to return to the game.
Yeah, I can't.
I know. I mean, I know Roger Staubach went into the service and missed 4 years for sure, almost 5, but it's kind of a different story. So, and he wasn't even playing in the NFL yet. He hadn't even got started. So, yeah, it sounds good, but, I don't think that they can sit here and say, okay, solve that defensive end spot on the right side.
Mickey, draft-wise, how do you think free agency and the way they've approached it? Nobody's on a really long-term deal that they brought in that wasn't already on the team, like Amari Cooper. How do you think the draft is affected by those free agency decisions?
Yeah, I don't think whatsoever. I don't think anybody that they signed would impact and say, nah, we can't draft that position. We already got somebody there. I mean, the most significant contract they signed was Gerald McCoy. He's going to be 32 years old. And it's a 3-year deal, but you can get out of it after 1 year for a very low amount of dead money. So to me, yeah, defensive tackle, safety. It's a 1-year deal. The only other multiple year deal they signed a guy to off the top of my head is Anthony Brown, and it was a very safe deal. He and Blake Jarwin. I don't think, to me, what they did is they had these holes and they put putty in them, but they didn't cement them. So I think anything and everything's available in the draft within reason.
Mickey, I know you've probably been asked this about 1,000,000 times by now, but is there any reason to believe in a Dez Cowboys reunion, or is that just social media going crazy and people getting their hopes up?
Yeah, I think social media at this point have not heard really anything serious from within, although we've kind of been separated now for a couple weeks. But, I mean, he was having problems running route in that last season, and he hadn't played since, and he had an Achilles, and it's great to watch him work out. But again, somebody suggested that some of that video might be old. I don't know. I haven't looked at it that closely. It's one thing to run routes against air. It's another thing to be able to do this now after you wouldn't have played for 2 seasons almost. So, we'll see. It's a great thing to talk about in this day when we need to read something, talk about it, and see something. But I still think that's a long shot also.
Yeah, it's just enough, right? It's just kind of a little slow drip, and all of a sudden here comes an adrenaline rush and much more. So, Mickey, the draft is obviously going to be held differently than ever before. The NFL will know how to handle it. They'll do it well. Won't it have the largest, perhaps, television ratings ever?
David, it's going to be the first live sporting event, if you consider it a sporting event, since things shut down after, March 11th?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's been some horse racing that's been telecast, maybe. I don't know if it's live, closed circuit or whatever, with no crowd. But other than that, we ain't had an event. We've taken up our time digging back into history. Thank God for replays and recordings, because that's basically the only thing we've been able to watch. So, yeah, I would think people are going to look at this and go, oh, man, it's a live sporting deal. I think it'll be highly popular as long as they can pull it off. And, there's the most valuable people in this draft might be the franchise's IT departments to make sure everybody's up and online and everything. All the streaming services are working. The telephones are working, computers, Wi-Fi. And my understanding, it's almost been working day and night with the IT department, with the Cowboys, trying to set everything. Because you don't set up just one area, right? You got to set up all these coaches, all these scouts. You got to set up the front office, and then not only set up within, but also set up in connection with the NFL office, and having the ability to connect to other teams. Because I think, to me, the hard part might be trading. I don't know if it'll be as easy as it's been before, because you've got everybody hooked up online, right? You don't have anybody answering the phone. You got to answer the phone. And it'll be interesting to see it. I saw something written about this, that somebody might be upset that the Jones family could be together because they're a family.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Mickey, thank you,
man. If I remember, guys, and you guys help me with this, the owners of Buffalo, aren't they husband and wife, and they call themselves co-owners?
Yeah.
Yep, they do.
So can they be in the same house together during the draft?
I guess so. I would think so. Hey, man, love to have you on this opening week, but the good news is we'll have you on every Thursday around 4:30 discussing the Cowboys getting closer with the draft and after the draft, and then hopefully whenever it gets back to normal, whenever that might be. And who knows, maybe we'll be lucky enough to see you at a little bit of training camp or something in Frisco. Thanks for your time, my friend.
Okay, good luck to you guys, and keep doing what you do, okay?
Yes, sir, and you too. Mickey Spagnola with us at Spags52 on Twitter, with DallasCowboys.com, coming to us live from Dallas and Fort Worth. Coming up next, a couple of nuggets to talk about. And on top of that, Clyde Hart, the Hall of Fame track coach, he's going to join us. Mm-hmm. And so will Jeremy Warner somehow, as we magically weave between them. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Back here on SicEm365 Radio, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. In the next segment, Clyde Hart plus Olympian and gold medalist Jeremy Warner.
I just had this tweet I wanted to pass along. With everybody in quarantine having to escape boredom, they're often doing it through social media. And I saw this great tweet from an unnamed Chicago restaurant, or somebody said, "I love Chicago," and they posted a picture of this sign that's on a table in this unnamed Chicago restaurant. And the sign says, "During this coronavirus outbreak, remember to remain at least 10 feet away from others. If you're wondering how far that is, picture Bears wide receiver and then imagine where Trubisky actually threw the pass. That distance is about 10 feet.
Oh, my God. That's horrible.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's been a lot of great stuff. There's been a lot of great stuff on Twitter that you kind of need at this time. Of course, Rex Chapman leads the way with what he does. But I want to make this note. I've said this before. Colt Barber, Paul, you're the one that puts the graphics up as we're about to hit a segment, right?
Yeah. The
graphics that he is putting together. Like just now, this was on Periscope. There were 15 live viewers on Periscope. We don't know how many of you. We'll find out tonight how many of you have checked in today online, and then that doesn't include Twitter or anything else. But the graphics that he is putting up are remarkable.
Yeah, they're great.
Remarkable. And thank you, Colt Barber. Thanks to Brian Etheridge and Ashley Hodge, Jason King, and many others, Grayson Grundhafer. When we come back, Clyde Hart, Jeremy Warner, SicEm365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
It would be almost silly to sit there and try to run down everything that Clyde Hart and or Baylor Track and Field has done since he arrived there many years ago and through the time when he retired. But you know the story. It's like when we had Cliff Harris on, the Hall of Famer, and what he's done, or RG3 earlier this week, or all the others that we've had. But it is staggering the success that he had at Baylor, and also with those who went on to have fame in the Olympic Games. Yeah, even those like Sonia Richards-Ross, who was a part of the University of Texas, who came to Waco to train with Clyde Hart to win a gold medal after some of her struggles and journey. Clyde Hart, the legendary Baylor Track and Field coach, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Coach, it's so great to have you on the show. Are you just kind of laying low right now like most everybody else?
Well, David, really I am. In fact, I took a little house arrest for everybody else. I took a little fall out at the track one day working Will London out, and I've been recuperating. I had broke 2 bones in my foot and ruptured my Achilles tendon and broke 2 ribs. So it was a pretty good little fall. Somehow, I think I backed up into a steeplechase pit. I landed in the bottom of it, I know that. But anyhow, so when I got incapacitated and couldn't play golf, then the whole world couldn't do it either. So that's good.
Well, Coach, I was worried. I thought you might have been just racing him, just to show him. Listen.
No. In fact, I'm watching the finals of the Masters golf tournament right now.
Oh,
and I can't remember who won it, but they're down to 4 holes to go and 1 stroke difference. So I'm still interested. It's a pretty good tournament.
So, Coach, this is an Olympic year, and especially guys like Will, you wait and you wait and you wait.
Right.
How different is it for a young guy like Will, who this is an early opportunity, and for a veteran who might have decided this is my last Olympics to maybe have to wait now a year?
Well, I think it's more to Will's advantage and some of those that are older and they're trying to, they spend a lifetime getting ready, and this may be the last rodeo for some of those guys. And so I think it probably is going to affect him more than it will a young one. It'll give Will a chance to mature a little bit more, give us an extra year to get him ready for this Olympics. So we're looking at the positive side, and so I'm incapacitated. I'm still playing his workout. He's working out every day. His dad, Mr. London, Junior London, and Ken Weethorn are working him out a couple of days a week, and then he's working on his own other days. So we don't want him to get burned out and tired. We don't have any idea if there's even going to be a track season, maybe delayed into midsummer or into the fall. So we got to keep him, what we say, and he's treading water right now. But we're training him, and 2 days a week we kind of intensify the workout, and the other days we're letting him do some just free running on his own. So we're keeping him primed in case there is a short season, because they haven't canceled all the meets yet, particularly those in Europe. So we'll see what happens.
Coach, I know you said for Will's particular case that this could be a benefit for him, getting a little bit more time to mature, but for those that are already ready and who are geared up to be running here in the very near future, having this delay, how much of an effect does that have just on your psyche, on your preparation, and where you already were expecting it?
I think probably those people that were really ready, the better ones, it's going to hurt them more, because it's going to be more of a downer for them, because they were looking for the immediate success, where some of these younger ones know that the reality of the fact trying to make the team probably was their major goal, and then trying to do well in the Olympic Games. But those others that were already at that stage are looking to medal, it's really a disappointment. And I feel sorry for those guys, because I know there's such an edge when you work for 4 years and you timed everything, and all of a sudden the timetable changes. It's got to be a big effect on them.
We mentioned Will London from Waco High and Baylor. Trayvon Bromell. It's hard. Look up. He's 24 years old. He's an old man when it comes to track and field. But at the same time, when you're a sprinter, 100, 200, or let's say 400, is it any different taking time off than it is someone that runs the 800 or more, or does that make any difference?
No, I think probably it may hurt those people that are in skill events like hurdlers, vaulters, because they're not getting the competition and can't really duplicate some of that until you get out there and actually do it. So I think that probably there's plus and minus for each of the event areas. I don't think anybody has an advantage over anybody else. I just think those that were really primed and ready to go, it's probably a bigger letdown and probably going to be a little bit harder for them to adjust than those that are just emerging up and probably need some more seasoning.
Coach, who was the most difficult person you ever had to coach that wound up being really good?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to be honest with you. If they were difficult to coach, they never were really good.
Good answer. Good answer. Coach, who was the best non-Baylor runner that you ever went against in competition?
that I went against?
Or that your program went against?
Okay, well, of course, there's only one answer to that, and that's Randy Matson, because it was a given when you were competing against Randy Matson that he was going to win the shot in the discus. I mean, he was just such a great athlete, and the people that he was competing against in the Southwest Conference and in the nation, there was no one of his ability. So I would think that Randy Matson, without a doubt, was probably the most difficult competitor for me coaching at Baylor against another school, because he was just so much better than anybody else at that stage.
Did you ever, or did anyone ever, keep track of how many actual events, like races, sprints, events, that you were attached to?
No. I'd like to just know how many miles I got on buses. I wish I kept up with that. Buses and cars, and I know virtually on the airplane, because I've got a gold card, a million miles. Probably got 2 million by now, but I had a million mile air card for years. But the number of bus trips is probably the number of times I went to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Lubbock, Texas, and Laredo, and some of those runs that were, up in the 400 miles range one way. Odessa, took a lot of those, and a lot of those we did in the same day and came back. But those days are no more. Kids today don't really understand, nor coaches, how the change has been in how we did things. Not only in travel, but recruiting and everything is so much different now than it was when I first started out.
What is it like to have your name on the track and field facility?
Well, I guess it's good, because at least I can read my name. A lot of people that have their names on buildings, they can't read it because they're dead.
Yes.
So I guess I'm very lucky that I've got a chance to enjoy it. And hopefully my family and friends, after I'm no longer here, the name will mean something. At least they may ask somebody what it means. But it was a real honor for, your alma mater to do that for you, and I appreciate it very much.
One thing I always wonder about when you're coaching a track athlete, especially a guy who's a sprinter or a woman who's a sprinter, a small injury that, a basketball player or a football player or somebody that they might be able to fight through and say, okay, I can deal around this. When you're talking about hundredths of a second making the difference of winning or losing, that throws them off, how much harder does that make it to coach and build around those injuries?
Well, it makes a lot. You have to have a special psyche to do that. I mean, Michael Johnson, who I coached for 15 years and didn't miss many meets, he had one really serious injury he had a lot of injuries. He had a broken leg that caused him to miss the 88 Olympics, which undoubtedly would probably got another gold medal if he could have competed in 88, because he was really good then, but broke his leg at the NCAA championships and couldn't run. And then he had some hamstring problems and some quad problems, but he managed to come back and came back strong from them. But it takes a lot of it takes a special person. I've had one kid that came back after tearing his Achilles tendon. Of course, I know how that goes, because I've now had 2 of those, and I know they're not easy to come back from. But a kid like Pete Morales, who tore his and wanted to give up track, and I had to actually lock my office door and wouldn't let him out, because he says he was going to quit. And I said, no, you may not ever win, but you can help the team, because I said, even you not running at full ability, you can score for this team. You got to be more for the team than just yourself. Well, he came back and won a conference championship in cross country after that happened. So, and he's very successful in life now, and I think they go hand in hand. So, we've had so many kids that have come back from injuries that are success stories that it would take up several of your programs to even talk about those. But Pete's just one I can remember that he came back from a very serious one, and Michael coming back from a broken bone. But we've had a lot of those. Sonia Richards, it means Sonia Richards probably, of anybody I coached, probably suffered the longest period, because she had a rare disease that they still don't have a cure for, and she went through it. She had blisters all over her body. Her lips would stick together, and I remember at one workout taking a Coke cup and folding it and making her put it in her mouth, because she wouldn't quit training, and to keep her mouth from sticking together where she could breathe, she just put that Coke cup between her mouth to keep her lips apart. Had these ulcers all over her body called Burchett syndrome. And then she came back and had a big toe that everybody said, "Oh, she just had a sore big toe." Well, not really. She had wore out the cartilage in her big toe, and it was bone against bone. And she competed the last 4 years and won the Olympic gold medal with that dead gum toe being taped and all this rigmarole and painful. But she did it. And so it can be done, but it takes a special person. Jeremy Warner, people don't remember his freshman year at Baylor. He had some injuries that kept him. He didn't win the conference as a freshman, but he never gave up. Sophomore year, he was healthy. The rest of the story, he won everything out there, from indoors, outdoor NCAA, to the Olympic trials, to winning the gold medal. So, yeah, there's a lot of success stories. A lot of them come from kids that have come back from injuries.
All right, so it's a perfect segue. By the way, when Sonia Richards-Ross won the gold, after all she had been through, I think that was probably as excited as I ever was for anybody to ever win a gold medal. Yeah. So you mentioned Jeremy Warner earlier today. We're gonna put you on hold for a second. Earlier today, before we started our show on SicEm365 Radio, here's a couple of minutes or so. Jeremy Warner, 3-time, I think, Olympic gold medalist on Clyde Hart. Paul? Multi-Olympic gold medalist and champion Jeremy Warner, Baylor University, and Clyde Hart is in the middle of an interview with us on SicEm365 Radio. Jeremy, when I say Clyde Hart, what do you think of?
Legendary. One of the greatest coaches out ever, especially for the 400. Role model, mentor. Man, list can go on.
What was he like day to day as a coach that made you keep working with him and keep coming back?
Well, he always had energy every day. It's no matter what was going on or how intense the workout was or what time of the year for the season, even the closer it got to world champs or the Olympics, he always had the same attitude. He played around with the athletes before practice, but when it was time to get serious and start working out, he switched it off and made sure we did what we were supposed to do. And then after practice, it was back to having fun. And it was like he's a kid every day at practice. He was always interacting with everyone out there, and it had a lot of great memories because of that.
You mentioned the man and the coach and all that he was, and obviously the credentials are insane with what you did and many others. Why was he so successful?
Well, one year we were in his office talking, and he looked at me and was like, "Jeremy, the one thing that I can say is, as long as I've been coaching the 400 meters. I don't know it. I'm not a master of it. I learn something new every year." And that right there told me what type of coach he actually was. He learned every year. He never thought he was the greatest coach. He was always trying to find new methods or new workouts for us to try. We tried stuff new weekly, and if it worked, he kept it. If it didn't work, he just threw it out, and we went on and went back to our normal workout. So for him to tell me after coaching 50 years that he's not a master of the 400 meters, that showed me that he really enjoyed what he did, and he really wants to learn something new and grow as the years go on.
All right, that's multi-gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist Jeremy Warner from Baylor. Coach Hart rejoins us now. We couldn't bring him on at the same time, but hearing him, and I know you guys in 2008 split for a little bit, but got back together immediately after that. What does that make you feel like when you hear a former athlete say that about you?
Well, Jeremy, of course, is a special kid to me, not only as an athlete, but I enjoyed my years coaching with Jeremy. Although, he wasn't much of a golfer, I tried to teach him that game, and the dead-gum kid could take an 8-iron and hit it 300 yards, but you give him a driver, it would go 300 yards, but it might be 2 fairways over. But no, I'm just kidding. Jeremy was a great athlete, outstanding high school football player. That's how Baylor got interested in him and how we got interested. And thanks to, I believe it was, I guess maybe Chuck Ree, I can't remember who was the coach. We had so many coaches in those days, but they reneged on his scholarship. And to his credit, he hung with us because we continued to recruit him as a track athlete. He came on to Baylor. But let me tell you one thing about Jeremy. Shows you the kind of kid he was and how his thought process. At the Olympic Games in Athens, when it was over, of course, we were elated. Here's a 20-year-old kid winning the Olympic gold medal, sophomore at Baylor, and we're just ecstatic. And so I go underneath the stadium, and a gentleman kind of took me back where the athletes were getting to go out to go to the award stand. But anyhow, my first visit with Jeremy, in fact, I think it was even before that. I think we took his lap and came around the stadium. In fact, it was. I went down to the rail, and he came over, and we gave each other a hug, which is traditional. And I said, Jeremy, do you realize what you just did? And, you know, his eyes got real bright, and he smiled and said, I sure do. I just broke the school record. Instead of saying, here, I won the Olympic gold medal,
Wow.
he was thinking, I broke Michael Johnson's school record. That was where his mindset was.
Yeah, that's.
So I thought, well, you know, I can't believe this kid, you know, here he just won the gold medal, 50, 70,000 people cheering, and he's thinking about, I just broke the school record. But Jeremy was a great kid all of them. You know, I never had a champion that wasn't dedicated to training and workout, and Jeremy was that way. Never missed training, never was late, never challenged you, just did what he's supposed to do, and God gave him a lot of ability, and I'm just fortunate enough to be able to get some of it out of him because of his hard work.
Coach, thank you very much. We appreciate you being a part of this opening week, the debut, the launching of our show. Craig, Paul, we all appreciate you so much, and heal as fast as you can. Take your time, though, but thanks for your time.
I'll be up as soon as you will to the golf course. I promise you that.
I'll see you there. I hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Coach, very much.
Thank you, David. Thank the gang. All right.
That's Clyde Hart, the legendary, nearly 600 All-Americans, all the other stuff we saw, you heard about. And then also thanks to Jeremy Warner, 3-time Olympic gold medalist as well.
So he said he ruptured his Achilles tendon, broke a couple of ribs, and then did he also say broken bones in his foot?
Yeah.
From that fall training Will London? Wow. Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
Tough guy to be
He's
already itching, you can tell.
Yeah.
86? Yeah.
And so cool that Will London, is a Waco Baylor guy through and through, and cool to see what he's got maybe in store in the future.
Yeah, it is cool. It's really cool. Coming up the 5 o'clock hour, former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell is going to join us today at 5:30. Former Baylor offensive lineman, now with the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Drango is going to join us at 5:45. When we come back, we're going to get into a couple of things. Oh, no. MaCio Teague, Baylor basketball player who's dipped his toe in the water on the NBA. That's right. Thanks to David K. MaCio Teague is next. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line. Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people, living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Pitch out to McCormick. Good use of the blocking, but then just obliterated by Chris Miller.
Now back to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Ideal MRI, high-quality MRIs for $497 or less. That is Ideal. We're now joined by Baylor Junior, MaCio Teague on SicEm365 Radio, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak. And it's I had to think there for MaCio because I know what you're doing right now. You're kind of testing the waters of what might be the NBA. What has it been like since you decided to at least kind of feel where you might be and what you might do?
I've just been having an incredible feeling. Just everybody hitting me up from back home. Baylor, a lot of support, a lot of love I've been getting, and a lot of calls. So I've been enjoying the process, so I appreciate everyone involved.
How much is it now good for basketball players, and it could probably get better in the future once there's a new CBA, that you do have this option that where you can test the waters. If you don't like what you hear, you do have the option to go back if you want to, and it's not a final decision the minute you make it.
I think it's a great idea about the NCAA allowing players to test the waters because before, a lot of players were left out if they didn't get drafted. And just feel like it's a great thing for our players to be able to come back to school.
MaCio, as much as you can without, divulging every little detail or whatnot, but I'm just curious on how this process normally works for a player and how they go about making the decision. What was it like, once you knew what you were going to do, going and talking to Coach Drew, and how did that kind of unfold, having that conversation about you wanting to take a look at the next level?
Just first talking with my family, hearing what they had to say, seeing what they thought was best for me, and we all concurred. And then we went to Coach Drew, and he just wanted to support me as long as I was happy. He was happy, and then we submitted my paperwork into the draft to test out the waters, and just getting a lot of calls, just to hearing, filling people out. But usually it would be interviews, workouts, and stuff like that. And our season wouldn't have ended as early as it did, but. Those would be the things that will go on workouts and the combine as well in May. So,
well, right now everything's on hold, so we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. Does that make this more difficult of a decision if things get so pushed back that you don't even have those opportunities, or do you feel like eventually you're going to have them before the draft if it's in June?
For sure, it definitely makes things more difficult, makes things more complicated because. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, this is kind of like a day-by-day thing, taking it day-by-day. The government is still figuring it out, so the NBA is still figuring it out. They don't even know when their season's going to start. So, let alone they're I wouldn't say they're not worried about it, but I would say that they're more focused on their season starting back up than the draft. So, it's definitely a complicated process, and it's putting a lot of things on hold.
We talked to Freddie earlier in the week about, kind of the abrupt end to the season and how the air just kind of got let out of the room, but talking to Coach Tang or Coach Drew or anybody we've talked to, that room was so strong with you guys emotionally. Was it easier to get over the disappointment because you guys were so tight knit?
I would never say that it was easy to get over, but I would just say that in life, things come, unexpected things happen, and you have to just continue to keep going forward. You can't let just one thing just stop you from living your life. So, we try to live life outside of basketball, and that's what we've been trying to do. But it was definitely a disappointment in itself, knowing that our season got cut short and the things that we felt like we were capable of doing in the postseason.
Do you feel like it's going to be hard? And I know you're moving forward and you got a bright future ahead of you, but do you think it's going to be hard to get some closure on what could have been, or is it maybe not as hard as I'm thinking it will be?
I'm personally not a guy who needs closure.
Gotcha.
But I just feel like we'll look back on it and we'll just be able to talk about these events with our children, with our grandchildren, and just talk about the things that they're going to be learning about in their textbooks in 10, 15 years from now. So that'll be, it's definitely a once in a lifetime thing that's going on right now. So, it's just crazy. That's the only thing I have to say. It's just a crazy thing that's going on.
So this would have been a week that you could have been playing for a national championship. I asked Freddie this on Monday's show, or maybe it was Tuesday's show. Was it Monday? Monday's show. Who would you have been playing for the national championship?
I think we would play Gonzaga. They got a lot of firepower in their offense. They score in the 80s every game. They got a lot of great players on their team. I've seen them play. I don't really watch too much college basketball, but I used to watch Gonzaga when they play, and they got a lot of really talented players on their roster. And just felt like they had a really good groove going, and they had a lot of shooters, a lot of players that could break you down off the bounce, play real fundamental, but they also played faster than what people think they play. And I think it would have been Gonzaga.
Would there have been a little, vengeance a little bit, because that's who, even though you did not play in that game, but most of your guys did, that was the team that eliminated you guys in Salt Lake?
I would say sure. From the coaching standpoint, sure, and the guys who played last year, but I wasn't even able to travel to the game, so me personally, I would have took it like another game to me, just going forward, just took it like a regular game, that's all.
MaCio, you guys had so many bright spots this year, being number one for as long as you were, all the the ways that you as a program took Baylor to another level. What is your favorite memory from this past season?
When does the season start?
What's that?
Does it date back to August? When does the season start? Does it date back to August? Because my favorite time in the season was when we went on the same trip to Italy.
Oh.
Does that count or no?
Yeah, go ahead and count that, yeah.
All right, well, yeah, we went to Italy, and I just felt like I got really close. I was already really close with Davion, getting that we sat out together last year, but we always went to the gym, always went out to eat together, always went to the office, watch games together, things like that. And but then I got really close with them because we sat next to each other on every bus ride that we went on the trip as we toured Italy, and then got really close with Mark Vital. So I gave him the nickname Thanos around that time. And so Mark Vital, he's a really cool guy. Last year, I would FaceTime him, and he would never answer. I asked him about it in the locker room. But after the Italy trip, I FaceTime him. He's call me back all the time. So I got really close to Mark, and I'm really very appreciative of that trip because I got to get to know Mark a lot better than what I knew him before.
MaCio, Coach Drew mentioned about your legendary workouts, even after games. I one time shot video of Jared Butler shooting after a game in which I don't know if he struggled from the three or whatever. He didn't do that often, but you guys were just unbelievable with your early morning workouts, and Freddie and Coach and you, and I've talked about it. Then you hurt your wrist, and it was a lot worse than most people realized. Then, Coach Drew said, you are as tough as anybody, if not tougher than anybody on that team. Where did that come from in your life?
Just going through a lot of things growing up, just basketball related when I say a lot of things. Just feeling like I was overlooked, and I watched and listened to a lot of Kobe Bryant tape, watched his games. He was relentless. He dislocated his finger. He popped it right back in place during the middle of the game, and he finished the game out. He shot free throws on his torn Achilles. And after I broke my wrist, when they told me it was broken, and the doctor's office, as soon as they came in and told me it was broken, in my mind I said I'm playing the next game, which was I couldn't do it because my wrist, like I literally didn't have any strength. Like I couldn't move my fingers at the time. Like I legitimately cannot lift my fingers up, and I had to do it like with my other hand. But I just remember going back and I was reading Kobe Bryant's book called The Mamba Mentality. I read in there, and he talked about how he broke his finger, and he played pretty soon after, and he had to shoot like 1,000 shots. We could get used to shooting off of a different finger because one of the fingers was broken. So just things like that, just a lot of trials and tribulations, and just not being denied. I won't be told no. I won't be told no, and I won't allow myself to fail. So just those types of things in my life.
Is that something, because I know that all of you guys took a bunch of shots all the time. I know Steph Curry is legendary about how many shots he takes a day. Do you keep an active count of how many you keep a day, or do you just know when you start and when you're done, you've been doing it long enough?
Yeah, I keep an active count, but if I don't like the way it went, I'll just go again. And then so sometimes, like say I was going to the gym and I'm making in the season like 400. And I don't like the way the 400 went. Well, if I didn't like the way 75 of them went at 2 of the spots, like I'll redo it, and I won't even count the 75. So I end up making 150 extra. So just things like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say I count, but there's always like a minimum. And if I end up doing more than like an hour more, then I end up doing an hour more. But no, I put a lot of thought into my workouts, a lot of plan, make videos and stuff of what I want to do, show it to the GA of exactly what I saw in the game and how I want to incorporate it in my workout. So it's a whole process that goes into these things. It's not like I just go in the gym and just start shooting around.
By the way, Jason King of SicEm365.com and the premium content is going to have a story, has had a chance to also visit with MaCio Teague, who's been doing kind of a media run throughout the day today. That's on SicEm365. That'll be up sometime very soon. MaCio, if you don't mind, we'll close it with this. You know, you mentioned Kobe and his mentality, the Mamba mentality, and what you learned from him. Did his death affect you in any way when you played the next game that you did?
I wouldn't necessarily say it affected me in the next game. I think we played Iowa State the next game. No, I played decent that game. Actually, I played pretty well. I was playing pretty well during that little stretch. But I wouldn't say it affected me any differently going into the next game. It just made me cherish life a little bit more. And it's honestly not a day that goes by. Like, I know this might be cliche, but I'm like so serious when I say this. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about his death. Like, I got a picture of him on my wall. Like, I got his book in my room that's like hanging up and stuff. And I don't know, like it just crosses my mind every single day. And I honestly don't know why it does, but it definitely affects me on a day-to-day life. It's a cherished life, and you never know when things get in. So
it was it was a pleasure watching you, man. You had a great run as a team, and maybe you'll have another one with Baylor. And if it's in the NBA, which we wish you the best of luck. Good luck with that. Good luck handling things the way they are today. And we really do appreciate you being a part of today's show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
That's MaCio Teague.
Good stuff there from him. And obviously a big Kobe Bryant fan. That was very interesting to hear how reading Kobe's book that dropped just, like a month or so ago, the Mamba Mentality, how that helped him kind of grind through workouts and getting through that injury, and obviously had a huge influence on him, and what a great player. You know, he's got the NBA in his crosshairs right now. Obviously, Baylor would love to have him back, but it'll be very interesting to see his journey, you know, and how this sort of pans out, especially given that we're not under the normal draft process right now.
Yeah, here you are. You have all these, for example, we've had Cliff Harris today on, who may not have a normal induction, but he's in the Hall of Fame, and that's all that matters. But you want that moment, too, for your family and all your friends and team and all that. And then Freddie Gillespie, who's going to be a part of whatever next level it is, and he's not going to be able to go through some things. And I would think he'd be really good in those tryouts and all that stuff that you can do. And here's MaCio Teague, who's trying to dip his toe in the water, and most likely, let's say he ends up in the NBA after the draft, whatever the draft's going to be. And he can't do any of that either.
Yeah. MaCio, here's why I think it's a really good idea for him to test it out. Because MaCio can shoot. And, you know, if you can shoot, there's a spot for him. I mean, obviously, not everybody in the NBA is a shooter, but those are the guys who, will surprise you a little bit. Now, if Freddie was a junior and decided he was going to come out and be like, maybe you need to play another year because of, developing and getting better, but he's a senior. But for MaCio, he can shoot. So you got to find out if it's time or not. And some of those opportunities like the G League or overseas are really good money as well, and you can get better and then wind up in the NBA. I mean, look at Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal is a really excellent player for the Jazz right now, and he had to bounce around a little bit before he found himself. And part of that just means you're ready to be coached at that next level. And as a professional, maybe it's not in the NBA right away, but that doesn't mean, not everybody's Michael Jordan right away. Not everybody's Kobe right away or Shaq. Sometimes there's a progression to it.
All right, we appreciate that. Thanks to David K. Now we come back in a little bit, and we still have former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell, and then former offensive lineman Spencer Drango, who's a part of the Chargers. This is SicEm365 Radio. The text line's available, 254-339-1122. Again, that Jason King premium story on MaCio Teague will be up in the premium section of SicEm365.com. Trying to find out. I'm sorry, Jason. We've been doing a show. It's up in the premium section. Sorry about that. I was trying to promote it, and now we even know why, because it's up. We have been on the air for the last couple of hours. Haven't had a chance to check in on that. So, Jason, thank you. The Jason King MaCio Teague story is up in the premium content. SicEm365. This is SicEm365 Radio. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Seth Russell and Spencer Drango still to come on this SicEm365 5 o'clock hour, brought to you by Edward Jones, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers. We appreciate their support. Ideal MRI, our title sponsor, among many others. I wanted to say a little shout out to Brad Boozer at Boozer's Jewelers. He and Dr. Steve Childers at Stonewood Dental, Dr. Kent Petty, the first three to immediately almost reach out to us and say, what can we do? How can we be a part of this? And there are many of you who have joined. We appreciate that as listeners and as sponsors. And every day I get off the air, somebody else is sending me a note. Hey, how can I get involved? And my email, Smoaky, SMOAKY, and then HSFB for high school football at gmail.com. At gmail.com. Craig, UFC news?
I have some UFC news over here. UFC 249 has been a very widely talked about event, and the reason being is that while many sports leagues have shuttered for the time being, the UFC, along with some pro wrestling organizations, even though they've scaled back quite a bit, was pushing forward with running a show. UFC 249 was expected to take place on April the 18th, and there was talk about where this could be held. And you may have seen the headlines about the UFC holding an event on a private island, and that was a part of their scheduled plans. However, this was not going to be that event necessarily. 249 was actually rumored to be taking place at the Tachi Palace Casino Resort near Fresno, California. But they have now announced that UFC 249 and every single event that they had on their calendar scheduled to moving forward, they're now postponed indefinitely. So there will not be any UFC fights here in about 9 days, nor after that for the foreseeable future. Dana White, in an interview with Brett Okamoto, said that he got a call from the highest person at ESPN, and about as high as you can get with Walt Disney, and they basically put the kibosh and had a talk with him about running this event. So it's off. There will not be any casino closed set UFC 249 pay-per-view, nor will there be that private island event they were also discussing as well. So just not the right move in the eyes of the people who had a say in it, and it's off. So there's another sport that has fallen, and now I think that leaves nobody. Because they were really the last bastion of anybody trying to do anything. I don't count pro wrestling in sports, but even they have scaled back tremendously to having pre-taped episodes that are already in the can. So that's everybody as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware of. And now it's, in terms of athletes, just them at home playing video games and being on social media.
If I learned anything from the Firefest documentaries, it was that holding events on a private island with very little planning never works out very well.
And this was going to be like Fighter Fest. So, it could have had equally disastrous, although I'm sure the UFC a bit better organizers than the Firefest guys. But, it was just something that I even felt like uneasy about, just because I understand the precautions they said they were putting in place, and it's on a private island or it's at this casino resort, whichever event you're discussing, but it just didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I had a hard time picturing this event going off, and so there you go, it's not.
The poll question that I put up earlier today at David Smoak, what is your confidence there will be a full college football season? 588 votes are in. Very high, 57.8%. None, 42.2%.
So that's flipped.
Yes, it has. It sure has. Adam Schefter said this, and then Seth Russell. Speaking to people in and around college football this week, there is a strong conviction there will be a college football season this season. Uncertainty about when, multiple scenarios debated, but they sound certain there still will be a college football season. Of course, that remains to be seen. All right, this is SicEm365 Radio. Coming up, former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell. Back in a moment.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Are you looking for a new home? Are you trying to sell your home? I know these are uncertain times, and in uncertain times, you want somebody who you can trust, who's going to be completely in your corner. Well, my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, they can help you. They're your go-to source as you search for your perfect home, and Lance is someone who's a really compassionate person. He's a really funny guy. He's a guy who likes to sit down and get to know you, all the ins and outs, and everything that you're going to want in a home or everything that you're seeking for in trying to sell your home. So if you're going through that process right now, and I understand that everything's different and everything's changed, you want somebody in your corner that can understand all that stuff. Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Give Lance a call, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80-20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. We have taken a trip down memory lane throughout this week with former Baylor quarterbacks. Robert Griffin III, Bryce Petty. We will hear next week Nick Florence, among others. The great J.J. Joe, among even more. We'll hear from Seth Russell here momentarily, who may have been dealt the toughest hand. You know about what's going on now? What he was dealt back in the summer of 2016 is they're headed into a team that was good. They were 6-0 and looked like they were going to be really good. And then all of a sudden, you know what happened with Art Browse gone and then a season that fell apart.
Yeah, his injury and all of that, it was disappointing for fans to see the season go that way, but you can only imagine how disappointing it was for Seth and for everybody involved. But that was such a weird time. I do want to pass along this note that I mentioned to you guys during the commercial break on Ole Miss. Baylor and Ole Miss scheduled for the season opener down in Houston. Well, Ole Miss has just announced that they have canceled all in-person on-campus events through August 1st, 2020, which might not seem like a big deal because the game's scheduled for Houston, but that includes all academic and athletic programs. So academic athletic programs canceled till August 1st. That means that Baylor-Ole Miss opener is looking very, very dicey if it didn't already.
Yeah, that's a one-time deal.
Yeah.
That's a one-time non-conference game in Houston that was supposed to be played this year. We're now joined by former Baylor quarterback Seth Russell. Seth, you see what's going on. You saw some several athletes that were on teams that were going to be a part of the postseason in basketball and whatever else in other spring sports, and all of a sudden it was cut short. Can you relate to them in any way based on some of the things you dealt with as a player?
Well, David, that's a great question again, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I know y'all had some phenomenal people come on. I don't know why you'd put me in the lineup with those guys. I could never match up with any of them. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I guess it's heartbreaking. I mean, you hate to see guys guys and gals that bust their tail in and out day after day, 365 days a year to be able to fight, for the national championship. I mean, that's kind of what you train for. That's always the goal. And for something that's completely out of your control to be able to happen and really, take into effect everybody, not just, college athletics, but just everybody. It's just, you hate to see it. And I feel for the guys. I mean, I understand that a lot of, I think the NCAA has, granted another year for for the spring sports.
Mm-hmm.
But for basketball, I mean, especially right now, I mean, that was March Madness is where basketball is kind of made. And for them not to be able to play in that, you hate it. I mean, you just feel for the players. But then again, I guess it kind of gives them a jump start to start focusing on the next year, whether it's, declaring for the draft, or possibly fighting for a starting position the next year.
Seth, when you commit to a program that had the quarterback run that they had at Baylor, what were the parts of intimidation stepping in and excitement of being a part of that and being coached and getting your opportunity?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's much intimidation. It was a very quarterback-friendly system. I knew that if I just executed the way that we knew how to execute, get the ball out of my hand as quickly as possible and into the hands of the guys that can make plays, it definitely made my job a lot easier on that sense. But being able to to come into a program that was on the up and up, that had been successful the last couple of years, had a Heisman Trophy winner the year before, you could kind of see where the program was going, and that I wanted to be a part of that. And luckily, lo and behold, Robert declared the year that I was going to, that I was originally committed to Kansas. And once he declared, that opened up a position, and I was able to kind of slip my way in, I guess to say, but to kind of see and be a part of the program, that just how prolific the quarterbacks have been, and to step in and just kind of say, hey, this is my time to shine. I've sat my time, behind some great quarterbacks. I've learned my lessons, maybe not enough, to get down. But other than that, it was an amazing ride.
I know a lot of people don't like to deal with what ifs, but I'm just curious, has it ever crossed your mind and you thought about, what if I had gone to Kansas?
Yes and no. I love the Kansas University. I love their program with Coach Gill there at the time. I love what they stood for. But God has a funny way of humbling you and putting you in the right place in the right time, whatever that reason is. And sometimes you never know, you never find out until you finally get to ask that question at the end of the day. But I don't really look back on it that much, honestly, because I just had so much fun at Baylor.
I know the story's been told before, and it's been a while. 4 years ago, coming up here in about a month or two, you're in, what was it, Brazil? Is that right, 2016?
That's correct.
Can you kind of give everyone who has not heard the story, and I know it's a very dark, difficult time, here you are, a quarterback coming back for a team loaded, and then all of a sudden you hear the news that the Pepper Hamilton report has come out and your coach is gone. Where were you at the time? Were you sleeping? What was going on? And how did you react?
Yeah, so we were actually outside of Rio de Janeiro. We were at kind of an adult rehab Christian facility. It was a really kind of cool situation with people that had grew up, selling drugs or, being runners or murderers, whatever it is, kind of this area of just completely away from civilization. And we had we're sitting at lunch. We had a break for lunch, and I didn't have the national cell service, whatever, to pay for. But one of the other players did, and he got a text, and he kind of read it and said, "Oh my gosh!" We all just kind of stopped and looked at him like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Coach Briles is no longer here." Like, what are you talking about? Is he okay? I said, "No, here, read this." And of course I read it and then ended up, basically saying, I don't know how accurate this is, but basically saying that, it's been a pleasure coaching you guys. I'm no longer going to be at Baylor University. The tides have changed, and good luck to you guys in the future type of message.
How close are you with some of the guys that went through all that, especially the ones that stayed around and had to deal with that 2016 year that was so hard? The brotherships have to be pretty strong.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, some of my best friends till this day were on that team. So it's kind of a weird scenario to be a part of, to kind of say, hey, I went through this and we bonded. But as we were under so much fire when we came back from, I came back from the trip when we started a summer workout, so everybody was, basically, wanting to burn down Baylor. And we just had an even bigger target on our back than from the year before. And it was just it was more motivating than anything to kind of prove and fight for a university that, may or may not have had the best outcome for what the situation was. But be able to fight for the fans, for the people who really stuck through with us, the tried and true really, and to keep our circle tight was one of the biggest factors. And so a lot of those players I have a lot of respect for staying. The ones that left, they left on their own circumstances, whatever it may be. Maybe it wasn't the best fit, whatever it is. But the guys who did stay to kind of ride out the storm grew and learned, as much as they possibly could at such a young age. I mean, we were 21, 20, 19, 18-year-old kids, basically. And kind of going through this, we had to grow up really quick, and luckily we had a really good coaching staff that was able to stay with our strength staff as well, and kind of fight through that psychological warfare that we were facing every day.
Seth, obviously it took a while for Matt Rule to get it going. His vision of the program that first year was very rough, and that was a long stretch for Baylor fans there of just kind of misery, quite frankly. But by last year number 3, he had that thing really cooking, playing for a Big 12 title, playing Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. He's gone now, obviously, and Dave Aranda's in charge. But just your thoughts as a former player and seeing, how bad things were there for a little while to the joy of so many moments last season. Having talked to a bunch of former players during the season last year, I was just kind of overwhelmed by how excited they were and how happy they all were. How was that for you, seeing them kind of rise from the ashes, so to speak?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, to kind of go back, with Matt Rule, I mean, he's a phenomenal guy. I understand the situation he stepped into was not the best case scenario for him. But I feel like he made the best of it, especially with the guys. And I really feel for those seniors that had to go through that 1-11 year. That's you never want to end on that type of note. But to kind of see the support that a lot of those guys continue to have for the players over the years, the next couple of years, and to be able to see, that third year for them to go out, and just crush it. And it's really cool to be a part of and just say, hey, I'm a lot of after that first 1-11 year, you didn't see a lot of Baylor memorabilia or support out in the public,
right?
Which is it's tough on that end. But then again, being able to kind of see it, like you said, rise from the ashes of whatever it was, and be able to overcome those obstacles, it just kind of shows a testament to the players, to the coaching staff that they really bought in to the program, that they knew whatever they were doing. They had the right players, it's just putting them in the right positions, and they were able to be successful with all that.
You guys were winning 31-26, and you ran the ball over right side. I think there was probably about 5 or 6 minutes left in the game at Texas. And this is the game where then, of course, everything fell apart. You had the lead, probably should have won that game 3 times. How close were you when you hurdled the defender of staying? Like, we had Bryce Petty on, and he had that slip against Oklahoma State. How close, Seth, were you to staying on your feet? Because I think you fell down at about the 6.
Yeah, no, I've watched that play probably more times than any other play. Not from the sense of jumping over the guy, but what could I have done differently to get in the end zone? And I think there was, I can't remember if it was like 3 or 4 guys that kind of hit me all at one time, and I'm spinning around. And then the last ditch effort, I think by a defensive end or linebacker, catches my shoelace, basically, and trips me. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, literally, I went through, jumped over the guy, spun around, broke, I don't know, whatever it was, and that's what caused me not to score. And I think that would have been, definitely the dagger, I think, in the heart of Texas. But unfortunately, and then the next plays that kind of transpired after that didn't work out to I think we ended up with a field goal, and I think that's what ultimately kind of gave them some spark.
I know you're in now becoming a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. We wish you the best of luck. You always seem to come out on the right end because you have great parents, great family, great everything. And you're one of our favorites of all time. Thanks for being a part of this debut week. And no, you're a part of the list of the great names because we appreciated you. And thanks for your time today, my friend.
David, Paul, and Craig, I appreciate you having me.
That's Seth Russell, former Baylor quarterback. God, it's good to hear from him. And next is Spencer Drango.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less, sometimes thousands thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
All right, here we go. We're wrapping up this fourth show of our launch debut week of SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. We have one more nugget for you, and it's a good one. An All-American. Spencer Drango, former Baylor All-American offensive lineman, follows up a guy that, of course, had himself a great career in Seth Russell as well. Spencer, where are you right now, and how are you doing?
Hey, guys, what's going on? I am currently self-quarantining in Dallas right now, up in the Addison area.
Is that where you have a home, or is that where you are just because?
So currently I'm just doing an Airbnb, but actually I don't really have an apartment because I'm in the midst of free agency right now. So
right.
I'm living in an Airbnb and just kind of hanging out up here and getting workouts in up here until everything kind of calms down.
Spencer, I saw on your Twitter feed you retweeted some articles about the collective bargaining agreement. Obviously, that's been passed. What were your? We had RG3 on the other day. He was against the CBA. I know there was some division among the players. What were your thoughts on the CBA and getting it passed and what it means for the league?
Yeah, no. I thought it was a good deal for the core players, but I also think it should have been a good deal for everybody. Not just the, core players that are, 60% of the league, because I fall in that category of a core player at this time. I'm going to be, at this time, I don't think I'm going to get the, $70 million contract like some of the other guys will. But so I just wanted it to be a fair point, and I was just trying to disseminate information as I got it from other guys and pass them along so everyone could make an informed decision.
Spencer, what has life in the NFL been like? I mean, what you obviously had to have known some guys who were in the league and gave you advice, or coaches and what have you, but has there been anything eye-opening that you weren't expecting, or what's kind of been the overwhelming positive and or negative to life in pro football?
I think one of the biggest things that you're told but you don't really comprehend until you're put in a position is how much of a business that the NFL really is. It really does come down to, a lot of it does come down to money and who can play and everything like that. And so that's kind of been one of the biggest eye-opening things. It's still a game, and I still love to play. But I think it's been how much of a business, and, you could have a guy there who's doing just as well as somebody else, but he's cheaper, in the sense of he's on his rookie deal and the other guy's not. And you could go with the cheaper guy over the guy, older guy with more experience, all else equal.
What does that do when you're young, even if you end up with no possible ability of playing even anything after high school football? So you go through high school, you have this great career, and then you go to Baylor, you're an All-American, and then you're in the NFL. Is that like a kick in the that it's still pro football, but it's not, that it's more of a business than it is a game?
I think you can look at it in a couple different ways. If you kind of get bogged down with the business side of things, it can definitely be less enjoyable. You do have to, I have to take myself back sometimes. I have wasn't in didn't have the most successful career when I was with the Browns. Just we won one game in 2 years, and that's unfortunate. Especially coming from teams that, like Baylor, where we won, 50 games in 5 years. So it was definitely a shock. But I was able to put all the stuff I learned at Baylor into use and kind of help myself along.
You had Randy Clemens as your offensive line coach, and he's someone obviously that every stop he's been has improved it. What was he like as a position coach?
Oh, Coach Clem was awesome. He made coming in like enjoyable and fun. We would have a good time in meetings, but also still be able to get our work done. And so that made spending a bunch of time up at the facility, watching film in meetings a lot more enjoyable, because you can't have other coaches who are a little bit more negative or what have you. But he was awesome, and his technique and everything kind of. I've been able to develop that as I've moved forward and add a lot more, tricks and techniques to it. But I think coming out, I had a really good repertoire of moves and techniques coming out.
Spencer, how often do you think back to that time period and just how, you guys were just such a hot team, winning pretty much every week, week in and week out, competing for championships? I mean, and for most people, college is the favorite time in life, so to speak. But just how often do you even reflect back on your time at Baylor?
Oh, I do. Quite frequently. Whenever I talk to an old teammate, it always somewhat comes up, or, I'll see it up watching it on Saturdays or something if I have time to catch a game. And it's just like, oh yeah, that we had a good time. We did some really special things with my time at Baylor. So it's been good to reminisce and think back on it.
There are a lot of guys. Spencer Drango, our guest, former Cleveland Brown, and of course with the Chargers, and now a free agent. It's a time when a lot of guys who were getting ready for the draft, there's still going to be a draft, but a lot of ones that may have been a chance to move up because of pro days or combines, or they had that. But you know what I mean? They're kind of stuck right now. Do you feel stuck as a free agent?
I think, I definitely feel for those guys who were counting on a pro day. If they've been looked at, they have a bunch of good film to rely on and everything like that. So, guys are still going to get their dreams made here in 2 weeks now. But I think, for me, it's just been slow because of all the COVID-19 stuff. All the facilities are shut down. They can't bring guys in to work out that they would probably normally do. So it's slowed down free agency quite a bit, which, the health and safety of the players is really the primary goal, especially now. And if you don't need to travel and keep everyone away, I think that's we're doing the right thing and postponing everything and making it work. It doesn't make it any easier waiting, waiting for that call or waiting for that workout to come. But it's something that everybody in the league is having to go through right now. So that kind of helps a little bit on that front, but it is tough waiting.
Well, not the first wave of free agency is probably was the easy one to do because you don't need to bring in Tom Brady for a visit. If he wants to come there, you're going to sign him. But there are a lot of guys like yourself that, they need to find out if you're a fit or not. So yeah, that's something that maybe people don't even consider that, yeah, they can watch your tape and everything, but they do have to find out if you guys are a fit together, not only personality-wise, but physically. What are those free agent visits like when you normally take them?
Well, I can't actually speak on the free agency stuff. I can talk about because I haven't been able to take any yet. But I can talk about what it was like after I was released from the Browns and trying to find a team. So you pretty much fly in the night before, do a bunch of paperwork or anything they give you, and then you in the morning you'll probably have a physical just so their docs can check you out and make sure you're all good and don't have any lingering issues that'll kind of red flag you, so to speak, for them. Assuming you pass all that, then it's usually a field workout that lasts anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. An hour is a really long time. Kind of 30 minutes is a sweet spot, though. And then, you change and either talk to the coaches or somebody in the player personnel area, and then we'll be in contact with you, or they sign you right there on either active or practice squad. So it's kind of, a lot of teams will do it especially during season, to kind of, I think, fill their emergency roster. So if they do, unfortunately, have a couple injuries, they've worked out guys earlier and they know what they can do, and then they can, bring them up and sign them to whatever roster they need to.
Spencer, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Good luck with whenever that opens up, where you can start to visit, or where you're going to end up in the NFL. We appreciate you. Always did, and always do, and always will. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Spencer Drango, the most decorated offensive line commit in Baylor history.
That was a special pro day. That was him, Xavier Howard, Corey Coleman, Andrew Billings. Weren't they all part of the exact same pro day?
I think
I believe so. All 32 teams were there, and that was a fun day. And I was looking forward to the one they were going to have this year. Obviously, they got called off, but like so many others, and good to hear from him.
All the guests we had today: MaCio, Teague, Cliff Harris, Steve Rodriguez, Max Olson, Mickey Spagnola, Clyde Hart, Jeremy Warner, Seth Russell, Spencer Drango, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Guys, God, this is fun. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. This is SicEm365.